Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Canna Bear, Adam Price, Fibre Oats, Bogey, Michael Kahn, Rob H, Ben White, Maximum Gravy, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B. Styles, Troy Shuker, Maris, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Muted, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
Morning, Ted.
Good morning.
Nice job last night.
Yeah, that was fun.
I liked that how the other guys were hearing it for the first time, how excited they were that they were going to be able to use it.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, I wasn't certain how many people were listening. I can't tell what the audience was, but it's recorded, so.
Right.
How are you doing this morning?
Good. The format, I wanted to get everybody on mute, and then even when you were able to ask questions, I was still on mute, so I didn't even get a chance to. But I would have liked to say I was privileged because I feel like I was one of the first ones that 10th man started dripping it out to on this show, because me and you used to be the first ones in here. And I remember when Eli was like, you know, when are you going to make this a presentation? This got to get out there.
Well, it's out there. There's no taking it back.
Yeah, but I wish I would have been able to voice that. And then when you explained to me the circle of equal altitudes, how they plot and chart the star and how much flat that would be, I was blown away. I'm like, wow. Sort of like they were yesterday.
Well, that's the way it works. You just go read it. That's the way it's supposed to work. So this is where we get accused of having our own interpretation, or it's our flat earth navigation book.
No. It's their books.
I know, that's the best part.
When your eyes are open to how much flat, and even Nathan the other day when they started going, and if there was a third boat, remember that conversation? I mean, it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
Everything's flat.
It has to be. Just a mere mention of 90 is over the minute they do. I mean, it really is simple with 90. It's simply over once they say 90 degrees. 90
Correct.
degrees. I mean, 90 degrees is not one line. Two lines, perpendicular. That bottom horizontal has to be flat.
Has to be or nothing works.
That's right.
But it could work if you go to the center of the earth and you slice that baby in half, and then you got a flat plane. What's that called? Equatorial?
Yeah, equatorial. Well, it's really from the surface, and they put it on wheels, move it to the center, and then they draw pictures saying that we took it from the surface of a curved Earth, but they took it from the surface of a flat Earth, moved it to the center, and then drew a dome and said that dome represents outer edges of the Earth when it doesn't.
Well, the next time somebody uses a sextant, I want to know what's in the center of the Earth so we could answer the housekeeping question. Right?
Yeah. At least to take some pictures, buy some souvenirs. Let us know you were there.
Then it can't be a molten iron core then.
He wouldn't be there long.
That's what I'm saying. He'd be the melted iron core.
Yeah, it's funny how virus came on and brought on a site that totally destroys his point of view, and he thought it helped him.
You know what's funny about that? He's in chat saying, they said just what I wanted them to say. Yeah. Okay, virus, really? I got to the point now, 10th man, when I'm in the chat, I'm a moderator there. So I'll let it go. But when you keep rinsing and repeating, I'm just going to time you out. I ain't going to have it. I ain't going to hear it no more. You're being ridiculous. You were exposed the other day and you're going to claim victory? Like, oh, they said just what I wanted them to say. Goodbye. What's interesting is it was my grandson's birthday. So, of course, he's a smart kid, but he's into the planets and heliocentrism and everything. And he can't stand flat earthers. He hates the subject. My daughter had to explain to him, but you can't be that way, Liam. People have other opinions and they have other ideas and other beliefs. I was like, well, not the belief part. The belief is the heliocentric model. That's the belief system. But he gets very annoyed. Doesn't want to hear it.
Yeah, it's if you were to change the subject and say it was entirely another subject, not flat Earth, and do people behave the same way? The answer is yes. So it's a normal human backlash, I guess, to something that bothers them, that they can't allow another human being to hold that opinion without being bothered by another human being holding that opinion, I guess.
Well, the funny thing is, my ex's husband was there right before I got there. He left. His name is Neil, also. Crazy, right? And when she told him that I'm a flat earther, he wanted to talk to me because he's got some things with NASA. You know, she thinks NASA's full of crap. So I didn't get a chance to see him, but I told her a few things she could tell him. But I think she was a little too drunk to relay the message.
You know, if you look at that website that Virus told us or brought on the show, you know what the top left corner says?
No, what does it say?
Onboardintelligence.com.
What?
Onboardintelligence.com.
Oh,
I'm looking
okay.
at it because I've been to that site before. When he brought it up, I already knew it. So it's like, onboard intelligence. You're supposed to be intelligent, and you bring this side up.
So the funny thing is, everything they bring, you probably read it or have it.
Yeah, or it's new. I mean, I've gone through a lot of these sites, obviously, and they're all doing the same thing. They mix the two. They mix angle measuring with heliocentrism and the, ball Earth, and then they say, well, it works because we're measuring from the center. Like, yeah, that's where you can get an angle on a circle, right? At the origin, that's how the angles are derived. But you're saying we live on a 2D circle now? No, it's 3D. We live in. So who went down there? Nobody. Well, then why you presuppose it's coming from there? Because it works with a circle and geometry and all that kind of stuff. You think you can hijack this point by using that? Where's everybody?
I'm here. I'm just listening to you.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, check your Skype message. I sent you something.
In where?
Your private Skype.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk later. Are you gonna have a cutout of virus that hold back and forth? I thought that was great.
I've lost track of where they are, to be honest.
Well, it's Friday's show, right?
So that'll be out on Tuesday then. So
Okay.
yeah, probably.
But I mean, a snippet like a preview would be great because that was just classic.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think I've listened back to that show. I listened back to it almost straight after it had uploaded. So yeah, I don't see why that shouldn't be trimmed out.
Yeah. You should have a whole series called The Virus Chronicles or something.
What do you mean? We said exactly what he wanted us to say, Nathan. He won.
Yeah, I heard that.
That's great.
I've turned the overall show down just a smidge. It's still clipping. Don't know why.
Oh, you mean your volume?
Yeah, the output of the show is just that little bit. I've made it that little bit quieter, just to see if that stops it occasionally clipping. I have no idea what's actually clipping, but there we go. Something is.
I thought you said listen to the sound experts that's inert of the system, and they can't. That the guy told you that it's just there. Remember that one show you were explaining how he told
loss.
you?
Yeah, packet loss.
Yeah,
Sound speeds was the guy who told me that. It might be. It doesn't mean I'm not going to try and fiddle and stop it happening. I've listened to streams that are perfect. So, present day production, they started up while the COVID thing was on because they had to increase their revenue somehow as a studio with very little work coming in. So they started making YouTube videos advising people, just like myself, who are building their home studio, which a lot of people did during the lockdowns. And they did their first live stream about 6 months ago. Might be a bit less. And it was perfect. I mean, it was absolutely perfect. The sound, everything was perfect. It was, however, a little bit on the quiet side. And I said to them, you're a little bit quiet. Is that intentional? Because it's clean as can be, basically. And they said, no, we're getting well into the, I'm not colourblind, so I don't know what colour it is in OBS, but there's a band of colour before it goes into the red that you're supposed to say, and let's call it the green. And they're like, oh, we're well into the green. I'm like, okay, but you seem quiet. The output seems quiet. Nevertheless, so that's all that's ever stuck with me. I know that you can achieve a clean stream that's got absolutely no clipping on it, but it has to be quite quiet in order to achieve that. But there we go. So I've just turned it down another smidge. I'll listen back when it's all rendered and uploaded, and hopefully it's a bit cleaner. If it's not, I'll turn it down a little smidge more tomorrow.
Like your little baby project, like a guy fixing an old antique car. You make sure everything's working, everything's smooth, and a little Bondo here to fix a dent or something. Just get it perfect.
Yeah,
but they never stop.
It might just be that OBS, no matter how well rated it is, whatever it is, 64-bit floating precision, whatever they've got, it doesn't matter. If it just doesn't like a wide bandwidth, it doesn't like it, and if you produce it, it'll sound cleaner. It won't clip. But as far as I can tell, I see it all the time on all sorts of people's, even sound speeds. So the guy advised me it could just be packet loss. Not a lot you can do about it. Well, he has clipping in his stream from time to time, but he's that much louder, and he's a proper, he's working with Hollywood movies. He's the boom operator for Hollywood movies. So I'm pretty certain he knows how to get his gain staging done correctly, yet he's still clipping. So to me, it must be something in OBS. But when I look at the levels now, I look at them and go, God, those are low. It just seems lower. Until I get loud, and you just think, well, surely it shouldn't be that great a difference. I've got 2 compressors running in OBS. Anyway, I won't go into my technical boringness.
Hey, 10th man, the problem with the car guy, they never stop. They're always doing something.
That's why he's a car guy. I
mean, that's true regardless of this particular issue, though, Neil. So every show, I'm going to be looking at people's levels and comparing them to each other and getting them roughly the same with every show, which means I'm always tinkering. It's a never-ending tinker in terms of the sound and the levels.
Good.
Well, yeah, that's good, but it's also quite a lot of work. But I'm just saying this is a separate issue for the show as a whole as it runs. Something's clipping at some point, and it frustrates me.
I got it, but it's good to know that you're always at work.
Pushing buttons.
Thank you. Yes. Sliding sliders. Yes.
That was so funny.
I got to take a break with that chat though, because I get frustrated with a lot of things, not just flat earth concerns, just personal concerns. Like one guy said, "Why don't you try just getting a job, Nathan?" I'm like, "Is this guy an idiot? This is the job."
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I reply
okay.
with. This is my job. So it took a long enough time to transition into it as a job. But, I've successfully done what many people have tried to in the past and failed miserably. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm hanging on by the skin of my teeth and I have to e-beg a lot. So be it. Yeah, I have to e-beg a lot, and when I do, I get by. Well, a lot of people don't get by at the moment. So I'm very, very grateful for small mercies in that regard. I'm very, very grateful to the people who support me so I can do this. As a really small YouTube channel, to do it as a job, I feel extremely privileged. Now, when you consider that the content's fringe, so I'm personally really up against it as a YouTuber. It's difficult, I'm not going to lie. But that just makes me want to try harder, and it makes it all the more worthwhile when I do have minor successes. When you grow that extra 1,000, whatever it is at the moment, I think I'm about to go up to 23,000, I think. Should really know. But maybe a couple of 230, I think, more people, and I'll be at 23,000 subscribers. Well, that's a little milestone that I'll celebrate, and I'll know how hard it's been to get there. So when someone's like, get a job, it's like, I've worked jobs that were less hours than this, that were considered extremely high, intense, energy-based jobs. And there were less hours. When I was out repping, I did less hours. Literally, the first thing I do from the moment I wake up is this, to the moment I go to sleep. It's all-consuming. Now, don't get me wrong, I've got time for my kids. I still do all the stuff with them, and my wife, and the house. But other than that, every other waking moment that I've got spare is dedicated to doing this. It is my job, and I take it very seriously. But people don't see it that way while they're watching and commenting, not realising that will require a reply, or some sort of moderation, or some sort of setting set up at some stage. People haven't got a clue. They just come watch the video and think.
Yeah, but the thing is, they don't have. Okay, I'm the guy that says that I don't have to send you a damn thing. So why is it bothering you?
No, Neil, you're looking at it totally the wrong way. You need to look at it as a boxing match. Nathan's knocking out the globe fighter. Every round he comes out, he's getting knocked out. But he keeps coming out. That's show after show kind of a reference. And then the people in the audience are tired of seeing their globe get knocked out all this time. And they yell at Nathan, "Hey, you've been knocking the globe out every round, every fight, ever since I've been here. Why don't you get a real job?"
I see what you're saying. Please
Also,
get
Neil,
off YouTube. You're killing us.
Speaking of support, you asked a couple of months ago, literally, when you dropped a big super chat on me, when will you get that? Well, I got it about 3 days ago. And yes, it was still a horrendous month. But it wasn't a disastrous, I can't pay my bills month. Well, it was. I just had to do a bit of e-begging. And it still is. But it's not disastrous. I'm not like panicking, if that makes sense. It's just a crap month. But for the fact that you supported me 2 months ago and were saying, well, when will you get that? I was like, well, actually, at a really good time when things I know. Do you remember me telling you? I know in those 2 months, times will be really tight. So I'm actually really grateful because I'll get it in 2 months. And you were like, yeah, but I want you to have it now. It's Christmas. And I was like, yeah, but trust me, I'll remind you. I'll be really grateful when I get that big super chat in 2 months' time because that's historically the crappiest time of year financially. So just so you know, really grateful. Thank you again.
No worries. 3 days ago? He just got that thing we sent 3 days ago. Wow. That's terrible. I'm glad you got it at this time because you needed it, but why does it take that damn long?
Just the way it is. Don't worry about it. It's called a pipeline. As a salesperson, I was used to it. Didn't matter that, you know, you didn't get your commission on something that when you took the order, you took your commission when the person paid and it was all delivered and everyone was happy. Then a month later, you got your commission. So it was a very long pipeline, far longer than YouTube. So I've got no worries. I'm not moaning.
The thing about that is, yeah, I used that when I work for people. Sometimes I got to wait for my money. Then they're like, "You want to come pick this up, or you want to get it all in one shot?" Then I said, "What if I freaking drop dead tomorrow?" So I started picking up my money as soon as it's available to me.
No, that's fair enough. Yeah, obviously this is different. We're both self-employed, but by the same token, I don't invoice anybody, do I?
No, but I think the amount of work you're doing, I think you should have way more people on a live show, and way more money coming in. But in due time.
As I
Neil,
say,
he's got 22,000 plus subscribers. And if you look at your immediate circle and I look at my immediate circle, how many people do we have listening to us personally?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but you know me. I want things going fast.
No, no.
Fast.
Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying, if I look at all the connections I got, and when I reached out initially to say, hey, let's have a conversation, something's going on here. Now, I'm assuming these are people who I've eaten with, I've had lunch with, their kids play with my kids, you know, all the different relationships from different levels. And to my surprise, and not really, but really, a non-interest to don't even talk to me, don't ever bring that subject up, to that highest part of rejection of not me, but of the subject matter. And I just had to step back and say, wow, this is one of those things that triggers people, right? I mean, why would this trigger anybody? Now, if it came from a stranger and he's calling, he just ran over your dog and he's calling your son a bad name, yeah, that triggered me too. But we're talking friends, we're talking acquaintances, friends of friends, and it's back to the conditioning that society and the media and everyone's done. Oh, you're not one of those. You're crazy to believe you're one of the conspiracy. Where's your tinfoil hat? Right. So they've already got this template that if something is outside of what the governing powers want them to see, it becomes that rather than, hey, they've got me in a place where anytime something goes against the narrative, they want me to react this way, and I'm reacting this way with my friend, and I shouldn't be. They're controlled.
No, I know what you're saying. I got you, but I'm just saying the content that's out there in the arena that we're in, it's garbage. I mean, it's on a borderline in NASA.
Yeah,
Look at I don't want to name the show.
No, but that's a
like
different
NASA.
Neil, that's a different subject. I mean, yeah, well, if you want to switch to that subject, that's different. But if you want to switch to why no more followers, you know, now you want to say, well, we have better content, so we should have more followers to Nathan Oakley 1980.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The content wise, it's like you get frustrated because it's so much better here.
Yeah, well, you know, just when it's 40 below and the guy's wearing 3 jackets, send him a picture from paradise and say, it's better over here.
You know what's funny? That's exactly what I was thinking about as an illustration in my mind, being somewhere in the tropics, enjoying it. And there's other people I could be there, but they're stuck in the freezing cold with 9 jackets on. It's like, why are you not over here?
Yeah, you know, don't worry about other people. Just control your actions, and the people around you will see how joyful you are in the state you're in, and you're at peace with things. And then all of a sudden, someone's going to be the right person to hear this message. I mean, my goodness, one guy that I'm helping along the subject matter is talking to 8 people. Come to find out of the 8, 4 say they believe the flat earth, and out of the 4, 2 are interested in exploring it more. The rest are just, yeah, but it's no big deal. I mean, so You could even be here and say you're a flat earther, but it's not something you're going to invest time in like you and I do. Well, that scared the crowd away.
No, I'm contemplating.
Yeah, I was too.
But some people, it's just not that big of a deal because they don't tie it to things that make it a big deal. They just say, huh. And the huh comes with, ooh, if I get involved here, no one will like me anymore. So they don't get involved because they know what's going to happen. Whereas if I get involved with the truth and no one likes me, I kind of like that. I gravitate towards that, pun intended.
Yeah, it's the metaphorical equivalent of burning witches.
Do tell.
Well, if you know that people who are witches get burnt, then you're not going to be inclined to look into witchcraft because you know damn well that that'll get you in trouble. Well, if we're demonized, that's the same, isn't it? It turns us into witchcraft. Oh, flat Earth, that's witchcraft.
Yeah, but if you, I like to look at it a little different. You're under a system of communism and you cry freedom and they kill you.
Yeah, that's another way of looking at it. It's pretty much the same sort of thing.
Yeah, the outcome's the same, but the intention, motivation is different.
People's fight or flight kicks in, doesn't it? Survival mode kicks in. Oh, this won't serve me well at a societal level. That's why there's so few women, because at that level, they recognise immediately that this isn't going to do them well in terms of their position in society, and that's what they need in terms of making sure that the nest is well feathered. So women steer well clear of this subject because it's not going to do them any favours.
Yeah, well, that's why when you read the New Testament, and let's listen to the Lord Jesus talk in the New Testament, count the cost. It's going to cost you to follow me, he says. Family, mother, father, daughter, brother, they're all going to turn against you. Are you ready to follow me? Because it's going to cost you. So, the truth is going to cost in the world of lies. So if you believe the truth about Earth and the rest of society has been brainwashed with a lie, and you come up and say, hey, they've been lying to you about the Earth, and I could prove a few things that will let you know why and how, they're going to fight. There's a fight here.
Well, my wife kicks in. Listen, if I'm having a conversation and all of a sudden it starts getting a little, when I'm getting bombarded, my wife comes right alongside and it's like, yeah, but, and she'll come with some stuff that she knows, backing me. So, yeah, they want to do it on the down low until their mates are getting ganged up on. Then she comes into the fight.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, I recall my wife doing that too, where someone will say something and she'll just by overhearing me talk to others on the phone, they hear her. And so all of a sudden she'll just jump into it. Like I'm sitting in the room, she's on the phone with somebody, and obviously they're talking to her about it. And then she starts sounding like me. And I'm going, wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, my wife is well versed in this. Was it starting the show?
No, got a few minutes.
Oh, we got 3 minutes. Yeah, 3 minutes. Is there anybody in Discord?
Yeah, there's loads of people. I haven't checked if I'm off mute for a while. I did when I first started.
Yeah, McToons with his little crybaby attitude. They started the show as soon as I got there. They left. Boo hoo hoo. Well planned. Well executed plan, Mick.
I went to one of the comments where someone had said that, and underneath, Anthony Riley put a timestamp. It's 39 minutes on the live show, I believe. It's like, what about this disclaimer that the show is very specifically going to end early? And I say early in air quotes because I'd started late. So, although the duration was short, the show finished at a later time, if that makes sense. So I was ending the show later than I would normally because I'd started late through a technical issue. And it got discussed and mentioned long before you even got there. So I can't remember who it was. Someone was in the comments of the re-up saying this. Oh, Nathan ran away from McToon. And I was like,
Yeah.
just by pure coincidence, Neil timed the person out. And I knew where we were in the show, having listened back to it. And I was like, in about 30 seconds, we discuss the end time being slightly askew. And the technical reasons my PC was running red hot, the graphics card wouldn't be used to render the show, basically. So I was pushing the CPU to the limits. And I was like, oh, I don't want to push it too far because it'll crash and it'll be a crappy ending. And I just want to end it when I've got control of everything before things go out of control. So I mentioned that before I even got there. It all got discussed pretty much in that context. What a big head, eh? Think a lot of yourself, don't you, MC Toon? World does not revolve around you, my friend. Amusing that you should think so, though.
Doesn't revolve at all.
They sure do like to spin it, though.
Oh, boy.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by Neil, 10th Man, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning, everybody.
Hey, good morning.
Morning. Good to have you.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hey, Jorge. Good to have you.
Morning.
Morning. Any more?
Why do you
21?
have your show at 1600? Isn't it 1601?
What do you mean?
Your live show going on right now says Saturday Debate 1600.
Oh, does it? I thought I changed the title. It just mean the thumbnail, because I can't update that till the show's done, so I just reuse the one from the last show, if that's what you mean. Do you mean the
Yeah.
thumbnail?
Yes.
Yeah, the thumbnail is always the show behind, and then typically what I'll do is
Gotcha.
when it gets to the after show, subscribe today to my second channel if you want to see the Uncut and After show without being a member. Comes out about 2 or 3 days later on my second channel, link below. But yeah, so I'll do the thumbnail while we're recording the after show. That's normally why I go quiet after the live show ends, because I'll be sitting making a thumbnail for the live show. But I don't know what to put in it. Well, I can't know in advance, can I?
Got it. I understand now.
Every show's different, so you don't know what to
I
put in
can
the
tell-
thumbnail until you
I
discuss
can tell you
something.
what happens in advance.
Well, we might discuss an individual though. So the
Well,
last.
no, here's what happens in advance. You start the show, ballers come in, ballers arguments die, and you start another show. Ballers come in, ballers arguments die. You start another show.
But they don't come in no more.
No, they do.
Except
So-
for them newbies the other day.
There's always an except for, and yes, they do still come in. Now, don't get me wrong, they're not coming in every single day having a full-on tirade against us by way of begging the question, knowing that, no, not knowing, but us now knowing that by way of begging the question, they've already won the argument the moment they start arguing the toss within a begging the question fallacy. So ultimately speaking, they don't want to come in because we don't let them beg the question. So the opponents got thin on the ground from the anti-flat earth side, the devout anti-flat earth side, the moment we stop saying, yeah, okay, you can beg the question of if the earth's a sphere, in other words, assuming the very thing they're trying to prove in the first instance, then arguing the toss about their assumption with us, assuming it with them. As soon as that stopped, they stopped coming. But the normies don't, realise that they're using a false dichotomy, burning a straw man, reifying a model. They don't know all those things when they get here, like the guys on Friday.
Yeah, begging the question is like a very good coffee filter. Just keeps all the grounds out.
Well, if you believe you live on a sphere, you should probably use a sphere model instead of a flat Earth celestial sphere model.
Yeah, they're not going to get away from the equatorial plane now that we've highlighted it. The angle measurement does actually come from the surface, and the only way that surface angle measurement works on a spherical surface presupposition is to take it to the centre on an equatorial plane that's also flat, and then have a ball Earth projected out at a quarter distance, and then an infinite distance to the angle of the star you're actually measuring, making the sphere Earth around the angle on a flat celestial plane, equatorial plane, my bad, completely redundant. It doesn't have any bearing other than them saying, well, no, where we're taking this angle from on this celestial, I keep saying celestial, on this equatorial plane, diced through the middle of our sphere Earth that is redundant once you're taking this angle out to the infinite star, we're going to assume that the redundant sphere that was in no way part of the angle measurement, somehow the surface, it's like it doesn't have any bearing on the angle or the surface that you measured it from, because that was described as being at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth, but no one's doing that. So then you can only take the angle and where it's measured from in that depiction to be the ground that the angle is actually measured from. And in that depiction, with the sphere Earth around it, redundant though it may be, or benign, or whatever word you want to use, you're still taking an angle from a flat surface. Doesn't matter which way you dice it. You need a flat surface to measure an angle. That's the bottom line. They depict it on an equatorial plane and claim it's at the surface. We say it's on the surface, both of which are flat.
The actual celestial sphere model, though, doesn't have a secondary sphere in it. It just has a flat plane and then celestial sphere around it.
I appreciate that, but there's plenty of bastardized versions of that where they have the equatorial plane with dude at the middle measuring an angle, and then projected out through a sphere Earth to the celestial dome of the heavens. So there are plenty of depictions that have that, despite that not being the case in terms of correct. What you actually identify in terms of the process that you're doing is you're standing on an equatorial plane measuring an angle. That plane is flat, as the name suggests, and you're just taking an angle to the sky. That's what you're doing.
They're actually just assuming that. They're not doing any of that, as we all know. They're assuming that it's coming from the center of a circle where there's an origin and the two lines can meet to a vertex. So it's an assumption they have to have because they know they can't get a angle measurement, elevation angle from a curved adjacent. So they can't do it from the top. So they have to assume it's being done from the center and the sun rays are coming parallel for that to happen. So it's a calculation, but it's not a measurement.
Well, I'm not really disputing that. What I'm saying, though, is both models they hold up in false dichotomy are flat Earth models.
And if this
I
person,
hear you.
sorry to break up the flow of this conversation, somebody says, I got banned, Nathan. Won't let me talk about Synclenser's F-up on McToon's show. I don't know if you're banned from Discord. If that's what you mean, I can't help you because it's not my Discord. But if you're not banned from Discord, feel very chosen one to join and tell us about whatever you like. It's an open door.
Yeah, I'm dealing with him right now in chat.
It's an open door. I'm just letting them know. He's saying he's banned. If he's banned from Discord, there's nothing I can do about that. Obviously, you're not banned from my stream. But if you can clarify,
Yeah, he's answering me because I said, "Don't tell me what he did. Join the show." So I guess that's why he's saying he got banned.
Well, that's
but
what I'm
who
saying.
even knows if he's telling the truth?
I don't know. I doubt he's banned from Discord. You have to go some to get banned from Discord. At least this Discord, as far as I'm aware. Betty's server. Let's do a bit of housekeeping. Any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle from a curved adjacent?
Well, first of all, there's no evidence because it can't be done. So how can there be evidence?
Correct.
Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere at your horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
I'll let John do this one.
Well, if there was evidence for it, if the black swan didn't exist that contradicted the geometry, you'd still have the problem of a curved adjacent. So I don't know if they can say it's an anomaly all they want to, they're still not dealing with the problem.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No evidence for that. Obviously, that's been spoon-fed to everybody since birth. And, you talk to people and, well, yeah, you don't feel it because everything's moving all together at once. I go, think about what you're saying. Think about what you're saying. Yeah. It's like getting in a car and not feeling. I go, who gets in the car and doesn't feel the road? My goodness, what kind of car are you in?
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No evidence of distance, not even in their celestial navigation books that they say. Their sun is light years away and there's no evidence for a distance to it, but you can use it for an angular measurement to figure out where you are on Earth.
We don't know. Obviously, we're asking for a distance to it, and we have no claim against it. We know there is an outstanding claim of a 93 million mile sun based on an R value taken from a flat plane angle measurement. So, with that being said, we're not actually claiming any height to any celestial body in any instance. And when we reference celestial navigation, neither are they. I say they because I'm going to detach them. That would be the people describing and utilising celestial navigation from us, flat earthers. The people who use that method of a flat earth elevation angle acquisition, they aren't us. Nevertheless, they're using a flat plane. And they're not inferring the height of any celestial object in order to do that. Neither are we. Just by coincidence, obviously, us being separate and not them. They don't need the height of any celestial object. They just need the angle. And we don't infer it. We ask for it daily. Just for all those people who start strawmanning us in the comments, and have been recently, by labelling a height, I'll point out that that becomes their claim if they want to ascribe a height to any celestial object.
Just a note on that, sextant is used for vertical angles, which are objects on shore like a lighthouse, and the charts will tell you the height of the lighthouse. So a vertical angle, very similar to an elevation angle, except a celestial sighting does not give you the height. So that's why they say it's not important for the angle measurement, and it comes from their own book. So if you have charts and you know how high the cliff is and the lighthouse is, you can do a vertical angle. But when you're at sea and you need that vertical angle to the sun, they even say, you know what, the height's not important. We're not even looking for that. We're just looking for the angle above the horizon. So we could get the co-altitude, so we could times it by 60 nautical miles. So we know the distance from the GP of the star to the observer's GP. Nice and neat.
By the way, really quick, by sharing the show, I share it on WhatsApp and things like that. And I got a question sent back to me. And it said, question, the objects we call the sun and moon, respectfully, are they real or an illusion? So sharing the show does help. Look, this is the first time somebody has a question for me because I sent them the show.
Shame you don't have an answer.
Exactly.
Well, are you going to cover that then? Shrug your shoulders? What are you going to say?
Well, I said they're just lights in the sky. Nobody has ever or will ever get to the sun or moon to declare what it is. Main thing to understand is without containment, there is no gas pressure, oxygen. So, how can the Earth be a spinning water ball next to a vacuum of space? Because the air we breathe would fill the space. So
How
I gave him
humble
that to contemplate on.
How humble of you. Would I not, I don't know, not have sufficed?
What's that? I missed
Both of
that.
those options that you were given. Is it an illusion? Okay. Well, I know what an illusion was. I studied magic at college. Could I fit it into that description? Yeah, I could sandwich it in. What was the other option? I've forgotten now. Illusion or what? What was the question, Neil? Illusion or...
That's it. It was just are they real or are they illusion?
Okay. I
There's
mean,
no other option.
real or an illusion. Okay. So are they real? I mean, again, contextually, yes, definitely, but also no, not if you're ascribing physicality to them in the way that the heliocentric model does. But not necessarily no overall, because maybe, in other words, that is kind of all-encompassing if I say I don't know. Are they an illusion? Well, Arwin would describe them as a hologram when he's speculating about what they may be. Hologram, illusion. Is it really Michael Jackson on the stage? No, it's a hologram. So it's an illusion then. So you could sandwich that into the description of the context that they've given. It's nice that they're asking, but because you've pointed out a lie, again, you've got to suddenly become the arbiter of understanding. I'm not knocking your answer either, getting them to think about the sky vacuum and what's not possible, followed by a question. Not the most humble of answers, but by the same token, there's nothing wrong with what you said.
Nathan, I got a.
I first said lights in the sky. So to me, they're lights in the sky.
That's what I
can't
say,
validate anything.
Yeah, lights in the sky. I don't know if they're an illusion. Could be. I don't know. Real? Well, I mean, they're really there. I'm looking at it. But real as in physical? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. A burning ball of gas in a sky vacuum, definitely not violation of natural law. What we've been told they are, in no uncertain terms, is definitely not the case. I know that for certain. I can say that with a rubber stamp of approved on it. I know what it isn't. But in the bigger scheme of things, once you've realised that you know what something isn't and you've been lied to, doesn't really help you out in terms of what you're going to find out in terms of what it is. Just let me shout a couple of super chats, then I will let you respond again, Neil. Mike808, thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate the support. Thank you very much. Also, Fibre Oats, again, thank you very much. Won't be long now. Show's going to explode. Just a matter of time. Yeah, I think there is a pressure building, Fibre Oats. I don't disagree with you. I sense it. I don't think it's going to be to my or any of the panel members' detriment, though. Just saying. Thank you for the super chat.
Okay. Where it's coming from, I recognize now. This is a person that, when he dies, he has it in his will to be shot into space. So, these things are a challenge to his belief system and his desire.
Hold on. That's nothing wrong with that. Shot into space, does it say? Does it say outer space or space? Because if he's being shot into space, right, what is currently defined as the atmosphere, sphere-shaped air, it's just the gas above us. Now, while I may not know much about it, being shot into that space, the gas is, means that you're going to be infused with the entirety of nature, and it's quite a romantic... I could spin that really romantically without any alteration to a man's will.
No, he thinks he's going to be orbiting and, and one day they'll have a cure for whatever killed him and bring him back.
Okay. Well, he thinks his corpse is going to be jettisoned into orbit and then eventually make its way into a new realm where they'll re-inject life into his corpse or something.
Correct.
Okay, well, I mean, you can think what you like, but if he's been asked to be shot into space, his ideas and notions of orbits and stuff are kind of regardless of what he's going to get if he asks for that. I mean, I don't think you can get a coffin with a corpse in it to orbit because orbit's not something that happens. So, I mean, it's going to be more dense than the gas we experience, so probably come crushing down to the ocean, maybe? I don't know.
Thank you.
Well, maybe he's not too far off because, they keep talking about space junk and debris orbiting, so he'll just be dead weight. Hey, Nathan.
That's funny.
Nathan, I got a citation in Master B on the distance.
Let's move on. This was a stiff subject.
Oh, too early for puns.
Right, where are we going? Master B?
Yeah, time and date.
Distance irrelevant.
Let me read it. Based on two coordinates, altitude and azimuth, the horizontal coordinate system provides the general direction in which to find celestial objects. Although the distance of the visible planets, stars, and galaxies differs by billions of light years, the system ignores the depth of space as an object's distance is irrelevant for the purpose of locating it in the sky.
Perfect. I like these little snips in the middle of housekeeping. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
None whatsoever. Invisible force, it's their god. Small g. You can think of it as a force.
You can. You can think of your car as a Lamborghini.
I do.
I do too. Doesn't mean it really is.
I got issues. Hold on, I got issues with that. What's with this Lamborghini? At least say Ferrari.
No, Lamborghini. Have you ever driven either? I've driven both.
No, I haven't. So you tell me
Lamborghini's
what's
better, more fun.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. You drive a Ferrari with a very serious look on your face, and you drive a Lamborghini laughing as you go round a corner sideways. A lot more fun. Anyway, I'd have a Lamborghini. Although I'm saying we're obviously operating at the not really is level at the moment, aren't we now? I mean, I'm not saying I haven't driven those two cars, I have. But in terms of me actually having one right here, right now, that's operating at the not really is level. If I think of my car as a Lamborghini, it isn't. But we don't have to work at the not really is, at the really is level, do we? We can work at the not really is level rather than the really is level, like they do with gravity.
I can get you there with a flat plane and a flat plane angle measurement if you can just ignore the flat plane.
So you can get me where? To the sphere Earth, orbiting.
To gravity.
You get me to gravity?
Yeah.
Is there any need for it? Oh, of course, you told me that I had to ignore the fact you got it from a flat plane. I see. Oh, I'll definitely need gravity then if I'm ignoring the fact that I've got there from a flat plane. There being a sphere.
So all you got to do is measure an angle to Polaris from the equator. An arc angle of your protractor is an actual distance. Bada boom, bada bing. You got a sphere. Take that, say that's what you're standing on, and say gravity's what's holding you to it.
Bada beep, bada bop, bada boop. So that's why you were such a good delivery boy. You had a Lamborghini taking you around.
At the not really is level. Shout out to Godzilla37, who says, it's Canadian, but you can think of it as real money. Very good. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. 106 people watching. Please share the show. The only reason there is 106 people watching is because some of you shared the show. So please share the show. Really do appreciate those of you who smashed the share button already. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics. Anyone in Discord? Oh, Sin Cleanser, you were getting spoken about earlier. Let's see if this guy's off mute. Hey, Sin Cleanser, you there? Check, check, check. Someone wake up Sin Cleanser.
Probably drunk.
Maybe, is he drunk?
You don't notice when he just goes on, when he joins the show. I like him and I don't like him. When he joins the show, he just keeps talking to everybody.
Well, someone was claiming he made a mistake or something on someone else's show.
Yeah, I'd like to know what on McToon. So I'd like to know what mistake he made.
Yeah, same here.
He was supposed to debate him on Saturday, and he didn't. I think he couldn't make it, or he was at work or something.
Oh, right. So it's a non-event. Nah, not much to talk about then.
Yeah, what's the big deal? He couldn't make it. So what? Things happen.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics? Anybody at all?
No, that's one of those things where you send email to Dr. Becky and say, hey, I want to talk to you about that, and you get no response. And Neil sends one to Neil deGrasse Tyson, no response. That's a field of whatever. But when you have to guess at everything, because all you got is observation and nothing else. Black holes and all these different things that they want to talk about.
Hey, I was told that the 1987 supernova proves a sphere.
Actually, the 1986 nova had a bigger engine block.
Yo, those novas were hot cars in the 70s, though. I remember.
Alrighty.
The 70s novas were the best.
Alrighty then.
There you go. See, we have to think you're a nova to be an astrophysicist.
Yeah, but I'm not familiar with this 1987 supernova. What the heck is it? A star or something that supposedly burst or didn't burst?
I will give you a £1 bet that in order to turn that into a claim to be globe proof, it will require an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. Let's see if I'm right. Nobody's putting it forward though, Neil. I know you're dangling it out there for somebody to back, but any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No, it's presupposed, and they could even suppose a Lamborghini's there, I guess. But they decided there's a molten iron core, but that's not there either. And Elon Musk can be upset that supernova was in space before his car got there.
There is no space.
I'm sorry. That's the whole thing. They didn't say proves sphere. It proves that what we're saying space is a lie. That they got pictures of this, so space is what NASA says it is.
Outer space.
Or what the books are saying, yes.
Outer space is fake. Outer space is claimed to be a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum. No, outer space isn't real. It's akin to Narnia. You can't have gas pressure, that's what we're all breathing, without a container. So you can't have an area that men can travel out to, and gas doesn't. That's impossible. So no, there's no car in outer space orbiting. That's nonsense. The area doesn't exist. Space, outer space, is fake.
Yeah, but Nathan, we have pictures of a Tesla car out there.
No, we do not.
What is it that they're showing us then?
Not a car in Narnia. I mean, I've got a movie of Narnia. Does that mean that Narnia is real? No, it doesn't. Just because I can show you a movie of a lion and a witch and kids going through a wardrobe. No, that doesn't mean Narnia is real. So whatever imagery you're talking about doesn't prove that there's a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum that potentially we could travel to. And yet the gas we're breathing that is basically at high pressure isn't pressing on that sky vacuum, the area it could disperse into. It's somehow magically clinging to the outside of a sky vacuum based ball. No, it isn't. That's nonsense. It violates natural law.
Agreed. But you got to look at it from a different aspect. For example, they've got everyone so far into this nonsense that they're laughing their heads off, say, let's put a car out there. They'll believe that too.
Maybe. I mean, that certainly does seem as farcical as it can get. But there we go. That's what people are peddled.
Got people arguing if the tires were burst or not.
And then the first thing the guy that put the stupid car out there says is, oh, it just looks so ridiculous and impossible. But you can tell it's real because it looks so fake. Awesome.
Yeah, that is stupid delight. That's a psychopath laughing
Laughing at us.
Yeah, that is in that instance. God, if I had fucking QE in my ear right now going, it's us and them, Nathan thinks everyone's lying.
Yep.
No, I think that is genuine duper's delight. But I don't know. He might not know. He might be ignorant to it. The complete deception of putting a CGI car into a place that isn't real. Maybe he doesn't know. Maybe he's ignorant. I doubt it. But I can't prove
stand
it.
with you.
He
I doubt
knows.
it too.
Yeah, we can say he knows, but we don't know he knows, do we? Spacemen, as in astronauts, I know they're not in space. There's a difference. I can call them liars all day long. I can't call Elon Musk a liar and have a clear conscience because I've got nothing to back it. I can infer it, and so can you, Chocolate.
Well,
Just human behavior, man. The way he's laughing about it, he just starts it off with, it just looks so ridiculous and impossible, but you could tell it's real because it looks so fake. I mean, come on.
well, the assembly line where they make cars, they usually have a thorough system of checks and balances. I can just imagine, hey, we have car number 24 missing. Does anybody know where it is?
Yeah, but look at the whole thing. They got us arguing about it. Wouldn't the tires blow up? Or it's got to be real because it looks so fake. When the place that they're sending it to does not exist the way they tell us it exists.
Exactly, Neil. Exactly. We can argue all day long about whether it's possible to have a car in space or whether the journey to the moon would be possible with rockets pushing off a vacuum. The vacuum isn't real. The area we're arguing about isn't real. The physics of what you're describing in the area that isn't real isn't necessitated in any way by any argument. It's like arguing about the lamp in Narnia.
So what you're saying is no one could say my car sucks because of the vacuum.
No, I can say that. I can say that.
That was for you, Neil. That was for you.
Sucks is the car in RoboCop. 6000 SUX. An American tradition.
Ha ha. I remember that.
Gets 12 miles to the gallon.
I'll buy that for $1.
Right. I watched RoboCop recently with my wife. And after they showed that, I was like, what they're showing is how wasteful and, over the top it is to be getting 12 miles to the gallon. That's the average. I told her, I said my Retmobile, when I drove it from Scotland, got 6 miles to the gallon.
Nice.
Do you remember the BMW 12-cylinder that they came out for a little while? I drove that once. I mean, it was so powerful, but that didn't get much either.
No, if you got
Listen,
your
it
foot to
just cost me 8.
Go on.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if your foot's to the firewall for a solid hour, you can watch the needle on a gas, the gas tank indicator. You can watch that move, like literally, it's moving as you're nailing it. You're looking down at the fuel, and you're like, "Oh, I can visually see it moving."
I can imagine because when I had my BM running, my Mercedes running, it was a V8, and that ate gas up. So I can imagine what these cars ate up. But speaking of gas, it cost me almost $80 to fill up my freaking tank.
Yeah, nobody cares. Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
Can't bait you into a conversation, huh, Nathan?
No, not when it comes to
top you off.
Not when it comes to the cost of fuel. I mean, I can give you an interesting story about a gas conversation, a gas petrol station conversation, which was to say that when I did that, when I ran the tank down, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago when I was a rep, when I got to the petrol station, because obviously I eventually ran out of fuel, I'd travelled an absolutely massive distance in the space of an hour. And when I filled up the tank, it was quite dangerous, actually, because everything was red hot, blue hot. The exhausts were like, ding, 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 ding. So I sat there going, wow, that's a bit dicey. Anyway, I went in to pay, got out my fuel card, and got a phone call. Never had this before. And they're like, you've only just filled up. And I was like, yeah, I'm halfway home now. And they're like, yeah, but you only filled up an hour ago. Now you're filling up again. I was like, well, I've used the fuel. It's obviously cause for concern. Anyway, that's my story.
That's funny. Didn't they put it together that you were flying?
Well, now I had to be very careful with my words, didn't I? Because I hadn't thought about that when I was filling up in wherever it was, Glasgow, and hitting the road. I just stuck my foot down, went as fast as I could possibly go, and then like, oh, I've got to fill up fuel now. Great. You don't think, oh, well, it's only been 54 minutes since you last put fuel in.
And I want to tell you why, because I was in a scam like that. We would take them cars and we would fill up everybody in the neighborhood's car for half the price.
It's not for
So
half
they
the
might have
price.
thought you were filling somebody else up.
It's not for half the price. It's at the cost of the business, whoever the business's card's owned by. Essentially, you're telling us about thieving fuel, right, Neil?
Yeah,
You mean
I
you
wouldn't feel it.
charge them
They would
half the
just give us
price?
the money.
Yeah, I've just figured out what you mean. You mean you charged them half the price and kept 100%, but whoever's card it was, that company had to pay for the petrol at whatever price it was.
Absolutely.
I see. So you're just telling us about your petrol thievery. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a big scam. You'd get the cards, you'd check them to see if they work, and then if it worked, you would bang them out. You had 1 month to do it.
Oh, God.
Anyway, that's when I was a bad boy. Now I'm a Christian, and I serve God, and I repented for that.
I see. Hallelujah. So R value, anybody at all? Because that's the last
I
housekeeping
always
question.
thought you were a good fella.
He is a good fella.
Good one.
Since that was a good shot, but since we're talking about gasoline, he went from a regular guy and he just said to the supreme being, "Help."
Yeah, that's just super.
Oh, too much.
Well, let's keep the octane level high. Anybody got any comments on housekeeping from Discord?
What was the last question?
Octane
R
level.
value, third time's a charm.
Black Swan.
Blackpool Swan, okay? Blackpool Swan. That's what they say to me. And they put like exclamation points, 10 of them after that.
Well, then
Unless,
Anthony,
of course, this is one of those days that you don't require a radius for a sphere, then I guess, we're
Oh, they
good on
definitely
that.
do. This is
They do? What a shit.
Didn't Anthony Riley come in and tell us they're no longer fighting straight lines now?
well, that's something that Adam has as his little amusement at the moment. So there's a small faction of anti-flat earthers that have seemingly managed to forget that all of their lines are bent, and they're now referring to the geometric horizon that we debunked with the black swan. And Adam is very nonchalant, and that wry smile you can hear when he's telling this, and he sort of phrases it in a way that makes me smile. He's like, well, they're then drawing a line for their dip correction to a geometric horizon, and I just roll my eyes and say, black swan. You're like, yeah, Adam, yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how much sand there is in their ears still, right? When they come up from the surface and shake it all out and go, well, I just draw a line, a straight one, to this geometric horizon. What's wrong with that? Anybody? Anybody at all? Anybody? Anybody looking? Anybody noticed? No, good, good. And Adam's like, excuse me. Yeah, black swan. Where you been for 2 years?
Did I miss No Atmo Day or what?
Well,
Was I
that's where it
asleep?
goes next if they double down on it, isn't it? Oh no, geometric horizon's perfectly okay. Straight line to the horizon, geometric. All good, all good. All right, so it's no Atmo Day for you and your dip correction, is it?
Hold on. So I'm holding out my hand right now. That's not really my hand?
Not according to Craig, Fight the Flat Earth. I think he's got on record saying that your hand in front of your face, you're not really seeing it because of atmospheric refraction. I kid you not.
How does he ever put food in his mouth?
How do they
Must
find
be
their
starving.
house is what I want to know. How do they find their home? Doesn't it atmospherically refract?
Shit, I thought I was there. What the heck?
Okay, that's a good question. Does their house atmospheric refract? The answer to that is yes. So in a sphere world with R derived from a flat plane, so notwithstanding the fact that this fantasy starts its life with a flat Earth measurement, everything is always refracted without exception. Hence their childlike glee when they're like, what is it, no Atmo day? When we said, you've not got a geometric horizon. You can't draw a straight line to this. It's beyond the limits of your geometry. Look, this black swan horizon's beyond 9 miles. It's supposed to be about 1.5. It isn't. So it's no longer geometric. And they laughed and went, what is it, no Atmo day? Obviously there's refraction. So like, yeah, that's the basis of your model. It's always refraction. Nothing is where it's supposed to be, ever, including your hand in front of your face. It's refracted at a rate of R, even by a tiny, tiny, tiny degree. If, Craig was to be held to account for this, he'd be like, well, I don't mean it in the terms that you couldn't literally put your hand on, close your eyes and put your finger on your nose. I don't mean it's not physically there. I mean, it's minuscule amounts off at a rate of refraction based on the air being sphere-shaped. Literally, they have this idea that air is sphere-shaped. Sphere-shaped air, atmosphere. And that's got light bending through it at a rate of R always in all circumstances. Now that rate of R refraction, 7/6 in standard form or whatever derivation they want, atmospheric refraction, terrestrial refraction, whatever you call it, that has been derived from an R value acquired from a flat plane. For them to have an illusion, a delusion, that their hand isn't really exactly in front of their face, exactly as they see it. It's not where it actually appears. It's refracted always. So I hope that answers your question, because, yeah, as strange as it may sound for me to answer you, because you asked like it was sarcastic, yeah, nothing's where it's supposed to be on a sphere Earth, ever. Nuts, huh? It's always looming. It's always a slightly looming non-standard refraction high in a holographic projection of your hand in front of your face. Because it's always looming, it's always refracting, it's always 7/6R terrestrial refraction. Sphere-shaped air. What is it? No Atmo day? Until you need a straight line. And that messes everything up, doesn't it? Because suddenly you haven't got one in reality. Apart from those people that Adam likes to laugh at now, being a mathematician, and having been told as a mathematician that what is it, no Atmo day, all lines are always bent, refracted light, always. Okay, well now we're dealing with straight lines, what are you going to do now? Have us laugh and say black swan, that's the answer.
Adam's a mathematician. Akumu virus, he's a math magician. If that.
No, a magician has
I wonder
to
how
actually
they ever
perform a
go.
trick. There has to actually be a payoff at the end.
That's
Something has to
true.
happen.
Wonder how they ever go
That's
hunting
true.
with the animals refracting.
Well, a magician has to do something and then do something amazing afterwards that you wouldn't expect. So making a bird disappear, yeah, that's one thing. But then making it reappear in your other pocket is the other, isn't it? That's the bit that people want to see, the prestige. Well, you've got to have that at the end of the trick for it to be a good trick. Otherwise, you've just made a bird vanish. Well, yeah, you can do that easily. Most people can achieve that. But my point being that Virus doesn't have the prestige in any shape or form to call him a magician. A math magician, hell no.
Hello.
Hey, Arwin.
Sorry for being late.
It's no obligation here in any way, shape or form, Arwin.
Don't believe that. You're getting docked.
No, there is absolutely no obligation. No need to apologise.
Has Akumu come on?
What's it with Akumu? He's popular today. Has he become the new whipping boy?
Well, yeah. He's a gift.
When you say everything that he wants you to say, he's a magician.
Okay, well, we've concluded housekeeping. There are a few seemingly new people in Discord. Rocky, are you new? I don't know if I've seen you before. And the guy with the trademark at the end of his name. Feistly, is it? Hello to both of you. Everyone else seems to be regulars.
What's up? How you doing?
Sky, and I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. How's it going?
Very well. Very well. Hey, how'd you say your name? The guy with the trademark?
Flatty.
Falty?
Flatty.
Flatty? Oh, of course it
Yeah.
is. It's that much clearer when you highlighted white. Flatty, trademark. Brilliant.
How you doing?
Well, we know where you stand with that name, but what about the other guy? What side of the fence is he on?
Oh, God, Neil's really concerned.
Who, me? I'm a flat earther.
Yeah.
He's a flatty too, Neil. You're all right.
Okay.
Put your knife back in your pocket.
I don't think that's really
Yeah, please put the sword away,
a
sir.
standard to make a case, because there is a glober who has flat Earth in his name, right? Flat Earth math.
That's true.
So you can't go by names.
I can vouch for Rookie. Rookie can vouch for me. Yeah, Fly's cool.
You don't need to.
I've seen him around.
You don't have to do anything for anybody. Tell them to
I'm not
go
gonna vouch for him. I'm
screw
just saying I know.
themselves. You don't have to justify yourself. Yeah, nice to
Yeah,
have
I'm
you.
just looking for a fight.
No, I said put your knife away. There's nobody here to open up, Neil.
Neil just described every New Yorker always looking for a fight.
Unless you move to Georgia
Them's fighting
and you
words.
become like chocolate, more reasonable.
I always find chocolate more reasonable, especially the ones with almonds.
Well, you know,
I like the
sometimes you
dark
feel
stuff.
like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Well, that's what you get when you're almond joy.
Somebody in chat called me a faker.
Oh,
And
yeah.
What?
Yeah, that's incredible.
Faking what? Baldwin.
Well, that I'm a fake baller. And I tried to explain to him, no, when I do that, I actually believe it.
That wasn't what I was expecting you to say. You mean you're like a, what do they call them? They don't call them
Character
characters.
actors.
No,
method
method actor.
That's right.
Method actor. That's right.
Yeah, okay. So you get right into character, Arwen. In other words, you are, when Baldwin, actually motivated to win the argument or keep it descending into obscurity with circular assertions. Yeah, I mean you're
Right.
better at ballering than most of the ballers as Baldwin.
Well, that's
That's
because
just-
most ballers allow themselves to get really childish and ugly. And I don't go there. That's like, even as a baller, I don't want to go there. I think that's like a disgrace for the religion, really, when you do that. It's a sign of weakness. And it is.
Take it as a badge of honor. You're a better baller when you go in that mode than all of them combined. They're jealous.
Well, Arwen's very unique in that respect. To fight the ball and be here at the tip of the spear, learning all of our arguments. Well, how do you become good at arguing against a position? Well, you know the position that you're arguing against inside out, back to front, like the back of your hand. That's how you win against someone else's position. Now, that would mean that necessarily you could argue their position quite well. Well, Arwen's recognised that and gone, well, that means I can be at the tip of the spear of all Earth arguments in this position, and he is. That means, literally, he is in the best place to be at the tip of the spear of globe Earth arguments. Now, unless you want to be at the tip of the spear of globe Earth arguments, then if you want to be, you'll be here, because that's the place to do that. But the majority of them know that they've got an audience that are dumbed down way below that level, and they don't need to be at the tip of the spear to convince their audience who are looking for affirmation bias in the first instance. They can just rattle off whatever explanation they need.
That's right. But they actually, if they want to take that craft in managing people and their globe dreams seriously, then they will have to pay attention because they are the designers of it. And to be the designer of it, you have to understand what it is, where it comes from. Guess where you end up with? A flat plane at the base of the design. So you have to be in understanding that the flat Earth is the thing that caused the globe model to come into existence in order to wield it properly.
Yeah, that's next level stuff, Arwen. I had no idea that you'd
That
taken
was
it
deep.
to that.
Right. So a dual cosmogonical society is really the only thing that can make the globe religion survive.
No, I've already said I've given my speculation in that regard. I think that they've already set up a faction of heliocentrism in the form of the what do they call it, Scientology. That will be the remnants, if people want to continue to believe it as the paradigm changes in the Western world. They'll be ushered into that. People become Scientologists, and it'll cost them money to do so.
Right. Yeah, the Scientology seems like a backup kind of plan. Like when the vast majority is like really like, we don't want to have anything to do with the globe anymore, right? Because it's all completely declassified and everybody's just like, ugh. Well, then Scientology is going to be, we got to keep the secret lore of the globe that we don't understand because
Exactly.
we've been disciplined not to, but we'll keep it exactly as is for a time later.
Exactly. It's a useful paradigm that you don't just chuck away a well-developed, intricate web of deceit in the form of heliocentrism as a paradigm. You pop it back on the shelf. And the same goes with older religions that might have been used as a control paradigm. This is a religion. Heliocentrism is a religion. It's no different. So they'll just put it back in the shelf, but they'll keep the idea of it out somehow, so it's not dead because of a generational death, i.e. people just forget about it and then they can't re-indoctrinate the entire masses. They'll keep it as the opposite of what we have now if you assume that the Masons know it's flat. They'll have the Mason equivalent in Scientology. Well, we know it's a globe. And then in 150 years you might have people that are out there that are the equivalent of us but wrong, saying, it's really a globe, why is it being suppressed?
Isn't that an appeal to the future fallacy?
Just a joke, Neil.
Okay.
Well, isn't even like the whole Copernicus story already kind of like this split personality type of situation where from one angle of approach you could see it as like, oh, but they're trying to free the globe. They're trying to bring rationality to the world and they're being obstructed by the mean dogmatic church, right? But from the other perspective, it's like, no, the Christians, not even the church, they know what is real and what isn't, and that these people are wizards trying to fool them with provable lies and ideas that are just like provably incorrect. And we're trying to prevent that from happen. And it's actually the church that's financially supporting them to do it.
Well, it's directly
And so
linked to
every
it.
time that story can be brought back. Now I'm not done yet, Neil. I'm not done yet.
Catholic Church, though.
I'm not done
Catholic
yet.
Church. Say the right church, though. The Catholic Church. The Roman Catholic Church.
Thanks, Neil.
Yeah, but you're putting on
completely
Christians.
breaking my point. Thanks.
Let's get it right then. Say the Roman Catholic Church, not Christians.
You're not the boss of him.
You didn't listen. You were triggered as soon as I brought in a related word that triggered you, and you didn't even get the point that I was making.
Godzilla 37 says appeal to joke fallacy.
There's two views. There's two views in how you can approach that history. That's what I was trying to lay out. And when I say the church, that's of course I mean the organized religion church, which is all bad news. That's why I said Christians separate from the church, actually in opposition. But you didn't listen, Neil. You just got triggered and then ruined my
and it
point.
completely
didn't
ruined
say
the
that.
point.
I'll listen
And it
to the
completely
show
ruined the
again.
point. The point being that the Roman Catholic Church has disseminated this information into modern society. Its roots are from the church, in brackets. But unfortunately, that point's been lost because Neil got triggered.
I didn't get triggered.
Yeah, you did.
I didn't just say it right. When you're talking about heliocentrism, it's the Roman Catholic Church.
Say it right is your demand that Neil that he obeys you in this regard, that his phraseology is akin to what you... Why would you do that? Say you're not triggered.
Well, I could say something here because you guys always are so specific on words, and he used the word church, and
Correct.
you just want a specificity on it. That's all.
That's
I
all.
used the word church separate after I mentioned Christians. Didn't you notice I mentioned Christians and church separately? Doesn't that signify something?
No.
He may have missed that, but that's not the point. For him to interject is not wrong, and for you to say, "Well, yes, thank you, I'll make it more clear," instead of doing what you did, which is say, "You're getting triggered," but just make it more clear.
Only because he interrupted mid-point. He could have waited.
Are you
Neil could have
attacking me
waited to
for
clarify.
being interrupted?
Neil could have waited to clarify that point after Arwen's point had been concluded, which is to say that it's not necessarily, as Arwen phrased it, church, it's actually more specifically the Roman Catholic Church. But he could have waited, but because he was triggered, he jumped in and interrupted and then got the reaction he did from Arwen. Hope we're all clear now.
No, I didn't. I'll next time I'll wait.
Yeah, right.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
The thing is, Arwen, sometimes when you speak, you're
There you
right.
go.
I have to wait for you to finish up because then it makes sense when you're totally done. So I apologize.
Apology accepted.
Yeah. Thank you for
Just
apologising.
don't do it again.
You bloody Christian fundy.
Got some kumbaya going on here today.
Oh, we got Adam. He's
I'm
going to...
trying to be a better...
Better what?
Right, but my main point was in relation to the... Hello, Adam, by the way. The main point in relation to the keepers of the globe faith, right? Scientology, was that in the future, no matter the perspective as where the people are at, whether they're like, oh, the globe was all a lie, or whether they're like, oh, this globe, this sounds interesting. What's about this globe? They've forgotten all about it a few generations later. Well, every time you look back at the history of Copernicus and the church and the persecution, all that, it all depends on where the psychology of the people are at as to how they're going to read that story, you see, and how that story is going to be told to them by the storytellers of that time. So there's like two completely different angles of approach of that story from different perspectives that are quite the contrast, right? And I laid them out. One is like, oh, but it was always a globe, and oh, they're doing their best to unveil that. And the other is like, no, wait, there's actually a whole division between church and actual Christians, and it was the church that was actually forwarding this wizardry, right? And both views will remain into the future.
Found.
It's just something I thought about.
Well, I just think that the paradigm of heliocentrism will never be allowed to die completely, in the same way as a flat Earth paradigm that's got useful control structures within it won't be allowed to die completely. And in this instance, or that example with flat Earth not being allowed to die completely, it's being kept alive for ridicule, for the purposes of being poked fun of.
Got a question for Neil and Tenth there. I'm just listening. You like to put the qualifier of the Catholic Church in there. Why are we attacking the Catholics? As far as I can see, Protestantism, any form of Christian church ascribed to the heliocentric model, they're all in cahoots, whether it's an American evangelist or the Papa himself. Yeah, they all maintain the same rhetoric. I don't know of any Christian churches that are saying the Earth's flat.
No, we're talking about when it started, it was a Roman Catholic Church. There was Protestants fighting against it.
Against what?
Against the whole heliocentric nonsense that was coming out.
No, they weren't.
No, that's
They were all about the power.
That's the complete opposite of history that you're describing there.
They were fighting against the authority of the papacy.
Just one at a time. Hold on, Owen. Do you have anything to back that statement, Neil?
You're gonna give me a minute, I'll find it.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen
what we've got in history, isn't that? Is it? We've announced there may be a grand Machiavellian plan for the church to unveil that, but certainly back in those days, the people that are more likely to agree with a heliocentric Copernican model would be the more enlightened, the Protestants. What you've got at this point in time is this is still a heresy and would be treated as such Now, like I say, it might all be a bit of a game because we pay this bloke to come up with the philosophy, stick him in a very luxurious prison for a bit, pretend to torture him, and then his model gets accepted. But at the times of this, the church is in opposition to this. It's against scripture. And to even suggest it's not flat as it described would be a heresy.
With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. There's also a PayPal link in the info box below this video, so if you did want to support the show that way, smash the PayPal link. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either Premiering Stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day! I understand what you're saying. The Protestants, they're all believing in the heliocentric nonsense.
Yeah, there is.
You're right, even till today.
When I went to my Pentecostal church.
Hold on, Adam. Sorry. Did I just catch that right? Why did you attack Arwen at all?
Well,
I only caught the end of that. Maybe I misinterpreted what I thought I heard, Neil. But based on that, you've got no reason whatsoever to have even challenged Darwin mid-sentence at all. Just the church is perfectly acceptable then.
Now it is. We're talking about when it started.
Sorry, did he contextualise this as when it was started other than the church, which is perfectly acceptable based on that standard that you're like, okay, fine, yeah, it was all of them.
Hang on,
It wasn't even
out with Copernicus.
Who actually introduced like Copernicus and all that? Who were they with?
There you go. See, again, he did it. So I'm talking about then, not now.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It was the Catholic Church, but yeah, they like, the separatists. Yeah, of course there were separatists, but like the Catholic Church was kind of like the papacy. It was the big guy, right?
No,
it was
I
the
get all that.
dominator.
What I'm saying is contextually, that's presumably why Adam just had a little chuckle when I highlighted this, right, Adam? That's why you've said all that, right? This is the point. Why did it need contextualising at all? I still don't. I haven't got an answer. I had 10th Man.
Because
go on.
Because the church versus the church. The church.
What? What? No, stop right there. I'm not going to have you argue the toss between the church and the church. They're both the church.
Well, you can't interrupt me when I'm talking.
Because you've started contextualising it between two things that are the same.
But you gotta let me finish. You gotta let me finish the thought, because I'm trying to say, as a former Catholic, I was told that they represent all of Christianity and all the other Protestants are under them, and they're the church. They can trace themselves back to Peter. Okay, bunch of nonsense as a pope. Okay, so that's when they say they're the church, meaning they speak for all Christians. Well, that's false, obviously. So then what does the Bible say the church is? It's people. The church is people who belong to Christ. It's not a religion.
Yeah, I still don't see why that needed any qualification beyond
it does, because
I think we're talking about the people with that are exempt from taxes because they have a system and they look away. They look away from certain.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
Environmental.
No, we're not.
No, I mean, because there's a difference between the building and the organization, and how people have church, which is individuals.
Yeah, but that's an individual objection internally with, I don't want to get this term wrong because I ended up hung up on this term all day, but Christians, if you will, in terms of how they want to qualify themselves individually. That hang-up has nothing to do with what Arwin was qualifying in terms of the origins of the heliocentric model. But the objection came, I'm only tying this down because it's whether or not Neil was triggered over this. Now, based on that, because Arwin got annoyed, suddenly that gets the focus. Now, I get this all the time and it really annoys me. It's like, no, the reason Arwin got annoyed was because Neil, who was triggered over this because of an internal discussion that goes on amongst Christians, needed to qualify it in case there was any other Christians listening. That's the bottom line.
Well, you do the same thing.
Neil wasn't triggered. I'm just trying to set the record straight.
I don't
like being called a Roman Catholic.
Yeah, but
that
it's
started
not
well. Go on.
relevant to what I was talking
Hold
about.
on, Neil. Hold on.
That
Go
was
on,
the
Ted.
problem.
You do the same thing you say. Go ahead. See that.
Yeah. If we even utter something wrong, you stop us and try to make sure everyone understands what the meaning really is. You don't want it out of context. So when someone says church, that can mean many things in today's language. But if you're going to just stay in the scriptures, it's members of the body of Christ, those who belong to Christ, Christians, not a religious system, not an organization, individuals. And so wanting clarity for that is doing what you do, which is getting the precise meaning of something. Now, Arvin didn't say anything wrong because he said, what?
Did that clarity come? This little straw man.
Well, we're
defense?
trying to do it now as we're talking.
Hold
Obviously, I have a position I'm holding that I could say Arvin didn't say anything wrong because he qualified it with Copernicus. So we all know where he's from. So
yeah, but the objection,
I didn't have a problem.
the objection didn't have this.
Done. I got
third time
trying.
Third time trying. The objection didn't have that qualification that you just gave, though, did it? In terms of the people versus the building, that qualification didn't come from Neil, though, did it? 10th. You've just given it now.
Right, because the conversation has evolved to now a faction of
evolution. What's that?
Faction.
Evolution. What's that?
I didn't say evolution.
Said evolve.
Oh, I said evolve, but evolve doesn't mean evolution all the time, does it now?
I'm just throwing in a red herring.
You just proved 10's point.
Exactly. He just did it.
No, it did not. I juxtaposed your red herring with mine. So
you jumped on him for saying revolves.
I'm saying it needs qualifying. Let's just one at a time. One at a time. Hello, one at a time. You're saying.
I'll go first.
You're saying you needed to make the qualifier with Arwin because, and then you gave the justification that there's very different meanings for different people about what church means. But that qualifier didn't come in the objection.
Yeah, whatever. I'm just trying to say you just took the word evolve and made it evolution when I had no concern with evolution when I used the word. So again, here we are. See, church meant this to me and meant that to Neil, and the word evolve to you meant evolution.
In debate, that's the problem with tossing out a straw man. Sometimes when you, the person who tossed out the straw man, or red herring, sorry, in this instance, wants to be back on track, then the opponent, in this case 10th man, can latch on to that red herring, and he has. Rather than addressing third time's a charm. Let's see if he ignores it third time. Your qualifier is correct in terms of the different meanings that people will have for the word church, and you contextualize it in terms of it meaning people versus it meaning a body, or when Eli qualified it, it was like, I don't know if he said industry or business or whatever. It was qualified in those two different ways. But my point is, when Neil jumped in and was accused of being triggered by Arwin, which is where my focus lies, right? Because Arwin had a reaction after the fact and got annoyed. But I still stand by, it wasn't a justified interruption, and therefore Arwin calling him triggered was perfectly justified, because the qualifier you give after the fact didn't come and still leaves it only contextualized towards those specific people who might have a misunderstanding about what church means.
Well, that was a mouthful, but I don't disagree with Arwin calling Neil for not allowing him to finish, and Neil jumped the gun. But that's not the point I'm making. So
that was the point I was making, so I'm happy for anything to continue further to here, because Arwin got it in the neck because he got annoyed, and suddenly that became the focus. And it's like, no, he called him triggered, suddenly he's getting told off for shouting him down when he just wants to get to the end of the actual point about Copernicus, which was the point I wanted focused on. But suddenly it turns into whether or not Neil's triggered and whether or not Arwin's triggered when he's just calling Neil out for interrupting where it isn't necessary. There we go. That's all I'm
I,
saying.
I apologize for that. Let me read my thing.
It's okay,
I got
Neil.
It from. Can I read, please?
Yeah, Neil, before you do,
Go ahead.
I started the conversation by saying I agree with Arwen, so I don't know why you missed that. Go on, Neil.
This is a little spotty too as I read it, but I'll read it anyway. In 1539, even before Copernicus's book was printed, Martin Luther had already heard about the astronomers' theories and commented against them in the course of a dinner conversation. An eager young student copied down the critique and reported it. I'm a little suspect about that. There was a mention of a certain new astrologer who wanted to prove that the earth moves and not the sky, the sun and the moon. This would be as if somebody were riding on a cart or in a ship and imagined that he was standing still while the earth and trees were moving. Luther remarked, "So it goes now. Whoever wants to be clever must do something of his own. This is what that fellow does who wishes to turn the whole of astronomy upside down. I believe the Holy Scriptures, for Joshua commanded the sun to stand still and not the earth." Another student recorded it a little differently. That fool would upset the whole art of astronomy. A punchier soundbite. This version has been widely quoted, though scholars generally believe it to be apocryphal. See, but a student recorded it? Come on.
Hold on, that's addressed to Adam. That was addressed to Adam.
That kind of validates what I said. I know you're saying there, oh, we've got a dodgy story where Martin Luther's, but look at what's happening. This is the Enlightenment. This is the Enlightenment. The people that are going to be embracing this are not. Well, this hidden hands behind is not the Catholic Church. Those that are going to go forwards in the quest with science are the more Protestant based that are moving away and critiquing Scripture, critiquing the interpretation of Scripture. So they're also going to critique it there. It's not to say that at that one point in individual time, any one individual might still think it's a ball. But I say it's all. Remember, look, Luther's this is all a game anyway, isn't it? Yeah. Where does he get locked up? Or with the Catholics and look really well. It's all a game, this subdivision anyway. And I said, and so was the introduction of the heliocentric model, I say, via the backhanders of the Catholic Church to pay to introduce it. But point being, at the time, you would be tried as a witch, as a heretic for making that proposition, as I think they are done later on.
It also says, though, that these off-the-cuff remarks might have been forgotten, though they were printed in the Tischreden or Table Talk series, first published in Wittenberg in 1566. But Luther's comments gained notoriety when Andrew Dixon White, first president of Cornell University, polished them up in 1896 as part of his history of the warfare of science with theology and Christendom. So, I mean, it's written. That don't mean anything, no.
Well, the right off the face, I could see, it's like if you look at the example of Jew or Gentile, here's Catholic or Protestant. Well, who made those? Who says I have to fall in any of those? Well, I mean, I was, without my choice, was raised Catholic, but I left when I realized that there was a God, but he wasn't in that building. And then when I cried out to God to save me and answer questions and to show himself to me, he did. And so then I followed Christ. I don't follow Protestantism. I don't follow another branch that's not Catholic by nature. I follow Christ and his words. I don't care how much scientism has crept into the pulpit, because it has. And that's why I'm on the show. Because I agree.
I agree. I'm not labeled either. You can't label me Protestant. I'm a believer in Jesus. That's it. End of story.
Well, if we're done with this, I got some slides of Master B, Nathan.
Adam?
Well, I kind of actually Well, I brought the example forth, and then all this debacle about the words came out of it. But I was kind of curious, like, what your views are on the future and how people might see it, say, in 10 years or in 20 years. What could all happen? How would they regard the past, right? It was kind of an open question.
I'm
What
not
do you
clear if I
think?
follow. Give me some constraints. What do you mean? Think about what?
About the story, the
What
story of
story?
Copernicus and the
Oh,
Catholic Church and Christianity, and the different types of ways to basically interpret that piece of history. And
well,
what will that do to the people in the future?
well, it all depends. If I go back and get a Bible commentary prior to, I think it was 1970, when you looked into it, I think it was Haley's Bible Handbook. It was, or Halley's Bible Handbook. And then when you got the newer version after the so-called ecumenical agreement, all the references about the Catholic Church, the persecutions, how they killed Christians and burned Bibles, all that was missing in the newer version. But I happen to have the older version and I compared the two. And I'm saying, oh, so they got to them. So they changed the narrative now. Yeah, that's going to happen.
Damn, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was. I was shocked. But yeah, that's happening all the time. So 10 years from now, they might change a lot of things. But, that's why I bought all these books on astro and celestial navigation. So if they do, I got the books.
Unless the Mandela effect happens.
Oh, don't be conspiracy theories.
Oh, is Paula still here? Paula's still around.
Paula was here?
Yeah. Hey, Paula.
Hey, what's up?
The sky. Paula and I happen to align on what we both think the Mandela effect is, or how we would both describe the Mandela effect. I don't know if you'd be so kind as to give your summary, Paula.
Yeah, it is basically, I did the whole history thing when you interviewed me that one time on the video I did on the whole history of, the people who actually coined the term and stuff like that. But it boils down to an effect that can neither be proved nor disproved because the evidence you would use to do either can change. So there is no possible way to prove or disprove it. So it's just a belief. It can't be anything more than that.
Oh, that's interesting. I have another more psychologically oriented explanation about it, and that is that Mandela effects occur when somebody makes a brand name or product name that is kind of off, right? Or something that happens in a movie that's kind of like, this is not what everybody will expect. But if you put that there, then as the observer, the consumer, goes through it, their minds will remember the perfected version that they want it to be, right? And
Yes,
then when they
that's-
watch back later, then suddenly it's like, hey, it's wrong. Why isn't it the way it's supposed to be?
Yes, that's correct.
Because you
That's
remember
just-
the way you want it to be.
Yes, that's correct. That's just misremembering stuff. So on one of Paula's videos about the Mandela effect specifically, she goes through those effects of misremembering things being stacked up in a way that makes you misremember them, misquoting them, for instance, on popular TV shows when the film has them as a completely different quote. That you can show. But in terms of the changing of narratives in history, that's standard media practice. Just don't want people to think that some of the things that are detailed within the Mandela effect aren't true, because they are. But what people describe as the Mandela effect in the nonsensical dimensional world where something's changed and you haven't noticed, like the black cat in the Matrix, that's complete nonsense and totally unprovable.
Okay, but wait, because let me just do this one. Because
like a change in the Matrix kind of thing. That's what the Mandela effect is suggested to be. Oh, it's something's changed. Right?
Right, but in literal terms, people can and do, and we do witness this happening, things changing. That does happen. It's just that the normies turn a complete blind eye to it.
My mic
No,
working?
but
Am I coming in?
we see a change in narrative, but not retroactively. It's not like, oh, now it's always been like this. No, that's just a lie. That's just propaganda saying it's always been like this. It wasn't always like that, and there should be proof that it wasn't always like that.
Therein lies the definition that I would agree with in terms of what the Mandela effect actually is, Garwin. Well summarised.
Okay,
Yes,
but wait
Neil,
a
you're
second.
being
What about?
rumpus.
What? Sorry.
What about? Oh God.
Say again.
Yeah,
Forget it.
Neil was being rumpus bad, man.
I'm sorry, Neil. You go.
Star Wars. Luke said. Darth Vader says, "No, I am your father. Take it to the grave." That's how I always heard it. But Chocolate Saint will say in the movie, he heard him say, "Luke, I am your father." So
Right.
I will believe what you're saying, but Chocolate swears by that.
When he says, no,
Goodness.
Luke, I am your father. And in your mind, you short it to take the most powerful words of that moment and fuse them into a perfect moment. And
That's not
how
what
you then
Chocolate will tell
remember
you.
it.
Wow.
But that's how it works.
Okay.
But perhaps we should talk about food because it's much more interesting.
I'm eating pizza right now.
I am quite hungry.
What's that supposed to mean? Talking about how in the 1984 description of the memory hole, that's what we're talking about. So,
So you're saying Chocolate remembered it wrong?
No, we're saying that in reality you can memory hold stuff. So 10th is saying in a digital age where some of this stuff is published, it's not that hard a task to make it disappear, make it no longer available. And he's saying, I want a copy of that book. Well, why? Well, you could, in this context, call that Mandela effect prevention, right? Because suddenly, if they don't exist anymore, they've been plunged down the memory hole and the narrative effectively changed. He who controls the present, controls the past, etc., etc.
Right, and it's not that difficult to even just say, okay, there's a revision. So everybody that has this book, you can exchange the improved version by handing us the old version, and you'll get the new one for free.
Right.
Right.
But
then there will be no evidence left, or barely any, that the older version even existed.
Right, and these are things that we can qualify and see as happening, but then that gets turned into this fanciful idea of our reality physically changing because somebody can't remember that the definition of a VCR isn't as good as a cinema and you can't notice a silver leg on a robot.
You guys continue. I'll just trigger everyone in chat. I'll post a triangle and they'll lose their minds.
Post a triangle and they'll lose their shit on the anti-flat Earth side. That's not untrue. And then they'll spend 20 minutes arguing about how there's no triangles in this method. Then they'll post a citation with the introduction having a picture of a triangle.
yeah, it's all of them now, man. They're also proto-Thed Jedi mind tricked them all. There are no triangles. They'll leave the opposite side open of a triangle and say that's not a triangle. It's just an angle.
Monkey see, monkey do.
We try to say there's 6 angles inside of a triangle.
It's a circangle.
It's a circangle. Yeah. It's everyone, man. It's really bad.
Yeah, but they're not fighting.
No, it's a spherical triangle.
Again, like in the same respect that it's not really us they're fighting with when it comes to them debating how celestial navigation is performed. This is the same beautiful outcome to the argument, i.e. they must start with a flat plane. Well, in this case, when they're arguing against it, they're not arguing against us or the flat plane. They're arguing about the methodology of celestial navigation, and it makes them look really stupid. But the downside isn't that they're kamikazing themselves into making flat earthers look stupid, because what are they achieving? Are they making celestial navigators look stupid when they say there's no triangles?
Can I ask you a question? What is a spherical triangle? Is that really something in math?
Is that an oxymoron?
That's what I said it is. But they're saying that it's being taught in schools.
We're dealing with
It is.
triangle deniers here, okay? This is like a basic shape that little kids learn to recognize when they're like 3 or something. So we're dealing with triangle deniers at this point.
Yeah, it's pathetic.
Yeah. I think the term that they use is spherical trigonometry or spherical triangles.
But that's not what celestial. Yeah, and that's fine. Yeah, they can bang on all day about their sphere Earth believing celestial trig. Meanwhile, that is not what's done with celestial navigation. It's plainer.
Nathan, was it Ballbusters that we had to go? I know it was last week, wasn't it? On that somebody brought it in using spherical trig. And I think within the document it categorically says very complicated and made it quite clear this is not how you do celestial navigation. You can go away and do some spherical trig and relate those figures to celestial navigation, but celestial navigation does not use spherical trig.
Right.
Yeah, that was virus, and it said it'll take hours.
Yeah, that was it, Neil.
Yeah, in the introduction, meanwhile, it had a triangle with a flat baseline to it and an angle being measured. And that's the basis in the introduction to do the conversion to spherical trig, which would take hours and is not done. Because that's not the method of celestial navigation. Not Flat Earth claims of celestial navigation. Not Flat Earthers' version of celestial navigation. Just celestial navigation. It requires a flat plane. Simple. So you said you were triggering people in the chat, I assume, but there's plenty of people in the after show. We're talking about how celestial navigation, not our claim of it, is a flat Earth methodology. So no anti-flat Earthers that's triggering in the VC. Maybe everybody's a flat Earther here today. Maybe. Stranger things have happened.
Which direction does refraction have to come from? Wouldn't it come from northeast, southwest, north, south, southeast, southwest? Or like if you're standing on a globe in the center area of the top, wouldn't you be shown everywhere to everyone's horizon in different areas?
Yeah.
How about that?
No, because you've got a false equivalence because you've mixed the both of the different refractions up. So when you're standing on a globe and describing it in that model, then your refraction isn't light bending anymore. It's a derivation of an R value with a mathematical value affixed to it. But that's only a description within the model. That's not refraction.
But it still has to go in all four directions.
But also, more important,
let me just try again.
Refraction never moves the horizon.
Hello? Let me try again.
Refraction is objects in relation to horizon.
But I'm saying different people in different areas. So if I'm standing in one place and you're standing on the other side and we got something in the middle, that middle thing should be refracted to everyone.
Correct. As long as you're talking about a thing and not the horizon.
No, I'll try once more.
Horizon doesn't...
Hello? Can I try it for a second time? It's just been completely ignored. No, that's a description within a model. So within the model, you're only just going to describe that globe Earth mathematical R derivation from a single point in Muppet vision. So when you then try and juxtapose how in physical reality, if you were looking with an R-based refraction that only works in this model from a single position in Muppet vision, then I'd see a dip in the middle based on the derivation of R in the model. No, you never get to see that. So trying to transpose it into reality is their trick that they really want you to do for them, and you are. Because you're mixing up something that can only exist in terms of an R-based derivation, what they call refraction, actually terrestrial Muppet vision-based refraction based on R, versus what you see at the horizon. Those are two very separate things.
They still need to prove which direction the refraction happens.
Well, if you're talking about terrestrial refraction, it happens to everywhere where there is gas for light to pass through. So it would suggest that everything would be warped in relation to a ball. But it isn't.
I'm talking about
that's
imaginary
also
refraction. You can't demonstrate.
Also wrong. Arwin's just done the same thing you have, Dimok.
Yeah,
no, Arwin.
It's absolutely terrestrial refraction I'm talking about. here in
No,
a
I'd
model.
like him to demonstrate it with the real ball outside, with the real marble on the other side of it.
That's the
what
point.
I mean.
That's the point.
Good luck.
I'm trying.
That's the point. You can't, because what you're describing R-based refraction with is only in existence in the model on the paper that you're describing with the maths of an R value. It doesn't exist on the marble. They can't show it. That's the point.
Well, that's my point. That we have the real sun, the real atmosphere, and two objects in it. Same thing that's going on anywhere else on the surface of the globe, right?
Real atmosphere?
Surface of the globe?
Fucking air, man. The air you're breathing, whatever you want to call it. I call it
that's
electrical
right. I
continuity.
forgot. Here's the guy
We're just
who
busting your balls.
knows
Chill out.
electricity.
Chill out, Dimmock. We're just
The
busting your
electrical
balls.
continuity,
Hold on,
buddy.
I'm gonna go take a bath, but I might get electrocuted.
Neil, hello. You're making things much worse.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah, we're just busting your chops. Don't worry about it.
Well, you will
Is
get
Paula still
electrocuted.
there?
That's how you shock your buddies when you cross the room, bud.
No, it doesn't look like it. Sorry, Adam.
Oh, God.
She said hemisphere on Friday. On
Off with her head.
Stone her.
Get her.
she realised straight away.
To the point, you gotta say goopy shit. We know I don't mean a sphere. I mean the fucking air. Come on.
We don't really know
Shut
that,
up,
though, do we?
Mark, and learn how to take a joke. Holy shit.
Shut up and learn how to use your brain to think originally instead of being a parrot, motherfucker.
Shut
No,
listen, you
hello, you two.
moron. Water is
Look,
not electricity, you
hello.
freaking idiot.
Yeah, put your
How
Swiss
stupid
Army
are you
knife
when you're
away,
telling me
Neil.
to
Neil.
use my freaking brain?
Neil. Yeah, put your Swiss Army knife away. Man,
retards, boy.
Tussling in the ranks, man. Bloody
Yeah, talk
hell.
to yourself in the mirror.
You bored in the trenches or something, Dimmock and Neil?
No,
Not
Neil
me.
doesn't
I
have
had
a
to
thought
listen to him. I
process.
listened to the show
Neil
the
doesn't
other
know.
day, and I'm shaking my head.
When you got people that fucking take medicine and can't even figure out their middle name, this is the problem you have.
I haven't got a middle
Who
name.
takes medicine? You?
I have no middle name.
Motherfucker. You.
I
Okay,
take
stop
medicine.
swearing.
Listen,
Projecting.
your
Stop
mother
swearing.
put you on a bus with a helmet on, it seems like. To send
Yeah,
you
to
to
kick
school.
your ass,
The little
retard.
yellow buses with the helmet
Yeah, to
on.
kick you off there, sweet pickle. Shut the fuck up.
Sweet pickle, country hillbilly
Yeah, you're
bumpkin
on the
that
little
knows
green
shit,
bus, you
but he
fucking
wants us
retard.
to believe that water is electricity.
How do you produce electricity, dumb bitch?
We're not going there, Numby.
Wow,
I'll
we
end that.
have to kneel, man.
We did cover that. There was a misapprehension about water and hydroelectric power being developed by the movement of water through a turbine being equivocated with electricity itself at the end of the last discussion in that regard. But I can say, I just want to say it because there's going to be audience members that will go, what do you mean you don't want to go there? What's that all about? Well, now you know.
Obviously you didn't, because you're still asserting the same thing just now.
Okay. And?
Nothing.
He's entitled to assert whatever he likes.
Bottom line, I was kidding around. He took it to another level.
All right, he's gone all quiet now, so he's obviously calmed down.
Yeah, because QE probably freaking muted his dumbass.
No, he didn't. No, I don't think so. It's you, just you that's triggered now, Neil. Dimmock's calmed down.
Shut up and go chew some rocks, Nathan.
Yeah, I'll do that. Thanks.
Sounds like you guys are bored. Just post some triangles in chat, man. Get you going.
Did you do that? Seriously?
Oh, boy.
Yes, I did.
And did it actually get a result? Did you trigger a few fundies?
I triggered, there's not a lot in here. I did trigger one. He said, posted the right track. Oh, I want to get exactly what he said. It said something about the moon or something. 1 second.
But it is true. They do not like celestial navigation and its use of triangles. I never thought it would come to this. It's great.
Something to the effect of you can use triangles to triangulate distance.
You never thought it would come to this when these are the same guys that would tell us the same thing that's supposed to block boats and buildings we've never seen before because we have an atmosphere? You didn't think this was coming eventually? Come on. You knew it was coming.
Well, I mean, we use triangles to triangulate.
On the one hand, I
Where
do
does it
appreciate
end?
your frustration, Neil, because it's like, it is so silly. And on Ballbusters over the weekend, QE said, you know, what is it, 5th grade geometry students would be laughing their heads off at this. But they're not seeing it, are they? They're not seeing the levels of stupidity that our opponents stoop to. Maybe they are. Maybe, you know, while I'm moaning about the fact that we've been replaced in the algorithm with anti-flat earthers, would that not suggest that this stupid nonsense that they permeate is actually reaching their more widespread audiences, which in turn can only benefit us, right? But are they disseminating this stupid nonsense about triangles not being used for triangulation in their own little corners of the internet or not? I don't know. I don't pay attention. I would assume not, because it's really embarrassing. In fact, I've just thought about it, and immediately my mind goes to Mitchell from Australia publishing Craig saying, prove that circles, two-dimensional, are flat and level. You're like, what? You're asking if a two-dimensional object can be level and flat? It's implicit. It's 2D.
They don't know that. Remember Bob pseudoscience fallacy guy? He didn't know what a circle was. He suffers from the same disease. All of them do.
Isn't there?
What do you have to do
Isn't,
when you get
isn't
back?
there an animation about like imagining like the 3D world versus the 4D world and 2D world?
And you couldn't do anything
Hold
without
on,
that
hold
jelly,
on.
right?
Well, I
Called.
did. I made the.
Hello?
I made the linter though.
Neil.
Sorry.
It's called Flatland. Really. It's about 2D situation where a 3D object is introduced and how they respond to it. It's kind of a psychological piece with 3D versus 2D, right? It's called Flatland, that part, that skit.
Okay. I mean, it's a contradiction
Just
in
to
terms.
say, right? Because everything is flat in 2D. That's the point.
Like asking if a light bulb gives off visible light. Find me a citation that says that the light is visible light. You're like, what? What are you talking about? It's a light bulb. Yeah, but find me a citation that says that it's giving off visible light.
Find us a citation that says that we're supposed to see the Earth curve. That supposedly blocks books and buildings. Yeah.
It's called the Earth Curve Calculator. Clues in the title. What's that? You say refraction? So this Earth Curve Calculator just useful for nothing then? Not physically blocking boats and buildings with its geometry qualified in this Earth Curve Calculator. Moreover, you're going to ask me, who would ever claim such a thing as Earth curve obstruction at the horizon, physically, geometrically blocking boats and buildings? You would, you stupid clowns.
I'm going to give you a shining example. So here we go. This was from, when was this from? Midnight. I'll put it in, I don't got Skype up. Master B will go from the Lion Sir Rat. You can post it up and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. There you go.
Oh, by the way, I just posted the video on YouTube that I was talking about, Flatland. It's from a movie from a while ago. If you want to check it out.
Perfect. Thank you, Armin. Okay, I got it at Protothad at Quantum Eraser, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you want to go through it? Just got total silence.
Yeah, it's the same disease that they all got. They're all parroting this stuff now. So quantum razor. Follow-up question. Why do you post that diagram you got from Q Math that discusses trig formulas that can be used if you have a triangle, but never the diagram and definition right before it that shows the elevation angle is just an angle, no triangle. Like I told you, they don't close the opposite side of the triangle. The opposite side, they just leave the angle right there, and they say, there's no triangles.
I know this might sound like a stupid question, but even if does their argument actually have a point? Because, not to be rude, let's say I accept their argument and this demonstration here, and they go, okay, here's a straight, flat baseline, and here's a straight line to the star. That's what we're going to be using to measure this angle. Let's call it the elevation angle. Yeah? Does it matter that the triangle's not closed? As soon as you do this straight line along the bottom of his example proves Earth's flat. Because if this line was curved, he wouldn't be measuring an angle. So who cares about whether or not it's a triangle? Does it matter? Am I missing something?
That sounds like a last-ditch effort. It literally does. Like, even if you don't close the triangle, are those two lines straight?
Yeah, flat Earth required for them to be straight, though. For that angle to be measured, we need a flat plane to do it.
It's their feeble attempt at attacking the 90 degree below the GP. So we were all saying there was a 90 degree below the GP, and that proved that the baseline was horizontal. But the way that you've summarized it now, it correctly places it that the flat horizontal baseline is independent of the 90 degree.
No, there's a new twist to this.
Okay, go on.
Well, that right on topic what he says about the 90 degree, because all right, here you go. 1 second. I'll post it in Master B. There you go. That's their position statement.
Can you read it, please?
You put it up there?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's from Protothad. There is a 90 degree angle at the GP of the star, but it is not the one we use when doing celestial navigation. We use the one at our observer point because we are subtracting the elevation angle from 90 to get the decline from our zenith, not one at the GP. That is explained in the references you have in front of you.
Okay. Sorry. I'm just going to say the same thing again. I didn't get a response last time, but if you're getting the complementary angle and you've got a 90 degree at your position, then the distance between you and the GP is still being measured. That's the point of doing this. To get the distance between you and the GP of the star. That's still a straight line. And the angle that you measured in the first instance is in reference to that straight line that formed your first angle measurement. So back to my first question, it's just not about whether or not triangles are real, or whatever nonsense they're asking. To get this angle, to minus it from 90, to give you the distance along the ground, when you times that angle minus from 90 by 60. That has absolutely nothing to do with the curved surface at any point or any juncture, and requires the ground to be flat to do that. So who cares if you're minusing it from 90? The ground still needs to be flat to get the first angle. The elevation angle requires a flat Earth. Am I missing something?
And from that statement, it kind of sounds like they've got two 90 degree angles they're dealing with. That's a little weird.
So right above that comment, there is 3 angles that are not a triangle. This is the new thing. This was the last night thing, man. The red rays. You can have 3 angles, but not a triangle. That's the new thing.
Okay. But all of them would be, if being used in terms of navigation, all 3 of these would be a elevation angle measurement, would they not?
No, just the first one.
Sounds familiar?
Why? Why? Because they're all... I don't know why.
you can't, that number two angle, you don't have a flat level baseline. That's not an elevation angle. That's more of an angular size measurement.
Am I
And
looking
number
at a
three,
different
same.
diagram? I think I might be looking at the wrong diagram.
It's the three, it says 1, 2, 3, and has 1, 2, 3, 4 rays shooting out in different directions from a
Yeah.
singular point.
Yeah. Oh, I see. So I gotcha. Number 2 is between the second and third line then, as opposed to between the second and the base. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. That wasn't clear immediately, but now I understand. Only the first angle would be an elevation angle measurement. The one with a flat baseline, horizontal.
Yes. Yes.
Gotcha.
But the new thing is that triangles, there's not three angles in a triangle because you can have 3 separate angles. Like you could place them in different spots in a vacuum. And well, you got 3 angles there, but that's not a triangle.
Hold on. Is that denying the antecedent?
Wow.
Say again?
Is that denying the antecedent?
It's all kind of, I don't know. I was laughing too hard and then I went to bed.
Yeah. Tri does not mean 3. Triangle in 3 angle.
That's denying logic.
But I've even, discussing this with Zanuck the other night. He was trying to use plumb as their reference. So then you just take 90 minus the angle off of plumb, and then you never need to touch that inconvenient horizontal baseline because you're taking everything off a vertical line, just 90-degree minus.
Sorry, that's where that's what you're trying to get. That's the bit that you're trying to get. That's the bit you're trying to measure. When you say you don't have to reference that awkward horizontal bit along the ground, other than that's the point that you're measuring to, the base below the star, the GP position, that's what you're trying to get. I know they're trying to avoid the ground at all costs, but we are trying to acquire a ground position. We all realise that, right?
Yeah.
So they can't ignore the ground forever. Talking about the complementary angle isn't going to avoid the fact that you're trying to get a distance to the GP. Ground position. It's just their ground's curving away from them, isn't it? Unlucky.
But it sounds like they're compartmentalizing things again, right? Just like when Bob the Science Guy basically had a sphere for his sextant supposed proof, with a line even for the radius, but he didn't make a notification of it, so it's okay. So you can have a triangle, but if you don't call it a triangle, you just call it 3 angles, then it's okay. You bypass the problem.
Yeah, but he also needed a whore to do that.
In that case, yes, he did.
One of the most recent comebacks to me was, how do we calculate the angle of elevation specifically in celestial navigation?
Calculate it? We don't. We measure it.
Yeah. Yes. Good.
We measure it with a sextant against the horizontal line we form with the horizon when we look at it. It's called an elevation angle measurement. Look it up.
Yeah, as the most recent one.
Poor
So,
show.
yeah.
Go on.
Definitions of
I'm
words
just
are
saying, just like I told you before about 2 weeks ago, get ready because there's no triangles.
In triangulation.
Yes. No, there's no triangles. And no, there's no triangles in celestial navigation. None whatsoever. That's their claim.
That's nonsense, though.
Well, that's kind of
But
what
it's
Ben says too.
No triangles in triangulation.
No, in celestial navigation.
No
full
triangles in celestial navigation is the claim.
But by extension, that means that when you're triangulating your position, that the method of celestial navigation, it is a bit of a syntax. It's a bit. I don't know what to say, QE. I really don't know what to say.
Well, I don't know. I mean, everywhere you look, David Burke navigation, the site reduction method we use in celestial navigation is based on this triangle drawn on the Earth's surface. I mean, I don't know what the argument is.
Can't get around that, can you?
Yeah, well, all of them are like that, though, aren't they? We've seen months and months of 10th man's presentation showing them us this in the books over and over again, with drawings of triangles with 90 degree below the GP. I mean, it can't get any more cut and dry. But the problem with that triangle with 90 degree at the GP and a flat plane to measure it is it absolutely annihilates a sphere Earth. So they've all gone a bit bonkers. So they've said, triangles don't exist.
Yeah, they say it's imaginary.
I am going to be paraphrasing your nonsense assertion that there's no triangles in celestial navigation by saying anti-flat earthers think there's no triangles. They don't even accept that triangles exist. What a bunch of idiots.
No, definitely, that's a straw man.
They're the ones telling us there's no triangles. What do you want? What do you want me to say?
Well, the alternative is that they are able to prove that a sextant works on the globe by showing you a square with a triangle within, basically a line drawn through two corners of the square, and then one point of the square being directly touching a sphere, and that would be proof that it works to them.
That would be a tangent point, Arwin. Black Swan.
Yeah, but they don't understand that, so it still works.
No, they understand that it's refracted. So your tangent point that you've just described, you accept it's a tangent point. I'd have to argue all day about what you've just described. It is a tangent point that you've just described. Straight line meeting the globe at a single point. That's a straight line, isn't it, Arwin?
Well, the corner. It touches the corner, touches the globe.
Of the straight line. A point touches
Yeah.
right. That's a tangent line, a straight line. Well, they've been telling us for 2 straight years that the line to the horizon is refracted, Arwin. That's not straight. So they don't have that, do they, anymore? Black Swan.
Well, it's where apparent geometry meets spherical geometry.
But not a straight line, not a tangent. That'd be a straight line. Something you don't have on a sphere, Black Swan. 3rd time's a charm.
Yeah, but it is in a straight line.
But then it's not a tangent. Then it's not a tangent.
But it's also a straight line.
But it's not a straight line. It's therefore not a tangent. So you haven't got that straight line you described meeting a sphere at a point. The one that we started talking about this at the beginning of the show before you got here, Arwin, and about Adam. He's still here. Yeah, great. About how you have a little chuckle at their expense, Adam, when it comes to them suddenly inferring that we've got a geometric tangent point horizon to do their dip correction with. And how amused you seem by this.
Well, when they dip the dead, because you were talking earlier, and they want to take a little bit, but for celestial navigation, it's a whole route. So they want a flat bit here which is horizontal, but not related to the ground, and they just, when you've won, and it might be a little arrogant, but you're sitting back now and just looking at basically a dead fish flapping on the bank, aren't you? Just coming up. How are they going to try and? So, yeah, it's calm now, isn't it? And smiley whenever you see this. This is the point. It just makes me grin now, as opposed to all like what I was doing last week. Enjoyable when they set us a little challenge. Thanks, I'll have a bit of fun with that, as opposed to it being anything that is of concern.
Just so they know.
It's not fair.
Well, we're talking about one specific individual that was referenced on that Bulbous show. That's Roofy. So Roofy's had his head in the sand for 2 years while everyone else has been telling us, are we stupid? It's not no Atmo day. It's all lines bent always. Duh. Suddenly he comes along and draws a straight line to a tangent point. Amazing, isn't it, Adam?
I'm just going to look it up now. I've not bothered to look, actually, but he's been pestering me for a few days because it gets to him, especially if you don't respond and confirm that a triangle is it. I'll read you what he said, because their minds are popping, you see. So Where are we? Little Roofy. There, Glenn. He knows he's just like a Cobra Kai impression on his picture. Very odd. Yeah. Are you in the it's a right triangle, but you're not allowed to do trig on it camp? This is where they're at now. Look. Building a bullshittery straw man to try. They're just desperate for us to speak to them. That's the point. Just please talk to me, Adam. Please give me something to give my life meaning. Yeah. So he'll build a straw man with a loaded question that really doesn't warrant answering, hence why it's not been. Yeah. Just to give him a purpose in his life. It's really quite sad for him. Sorry.
We got brand new, hot off the presses,
not
Nathan.
fair, though.
Hold on.
In Master B.
Brand new, hot off the
We
presses.
got the chat skank, Protodad. Of course, he won't come back in here because he got destroyed. So here you go. That's the brand new one.
The one with somebody spitting their drink out?
No. Keep going down. It says the brand new, hot off the presses. Did it post yet?
I think so. It's got what looks like a heart-shaped smiley face and the black swan and a bit of cloud. Is that the right one?
No, in Master B, right beneath, it says brand new, hot off the presses. It got Protothad message. It's right from chat. I'll put it in Ballbusters. How about that?
I'll put it. I'm in
Maybe
Master
it's
B.
not.
It's all good. I'm pretty sure I was on it. Protothad. So give me that elevation angle. Yeah, is that how it starts?
Yeah, so give that the elevation angle is only measured because that's what I responded with before. Why do you constantly show this diagram of formula that would be used to calculate it? Calculate the elevation angle? Really? From what? How are these trig formula relevant to celestial navigation? They're not. They're not. Not with the elevation angle, they're not. This guy's a stone cold retard.
No, I think you're right, and not no, but yes, I think you're right. When you said they're just dumb, we just think that they know more than they actually do, because they don't know the context to put things together. It's like someone who said, "I'm talking about geometry," but he was talking about the calculations that Al-Biruni supposedly did, or Eratosthenes supposedly did, but he didn't know what the formula for the horizon was. He didn't know the circumference of the Earth at all. And it's like, well, you're telling me that what's exactly relevant is not relevant. Well, you're a retard. And these people saying, well, there's no triangles, there's no this. I just think that they have a religious belief and they're trying to work backwards and they're trying to learn frantically because it has to be a sphere, so we have to be wrong somehow. And they all get the same idea from like one individual. I don't know. It's weird.
They've stopped dealing with the problem anymore, Eli, aren't they? They're dealing with. Look, I'm just going to read Glenn's other one. He's so desperate to have a point to his life. He obviously is a very avid listener to Flat Earth Debate. We were talking
That's
about.
Roofy.
Yeah. We're talking about.
Use it. Don't say Glenn. Say Roofy the numpty from down under.
Okay, Roofy the numpty from down under. He's obviously listened to the show last week. And you see, instead of dealing what Aries failure deals with, this is his response to me. And it comes to the point that I do think they're clever, John, and we can have this point now, because this is where they have to go, because they're smart enough to know they couldn't just deal with Aries failure. If the star field is moving, I have to increase the tilt. I have to increase the tilt, therefore the star field is moving. Genius, throwing everybody off the scent by assuming the consequent fallacy. You see where they're at? They're not. We disclaimed that we weren't making science, we weren't doing science, we weren't claiming any scientific validity to it. But all they've got, you see, is just desperate little non-related points to try and make. Yeah, because they've lost the actual argument. So all they've got now is little bits like that, which again tend to be wrong as well in their assessment of what's just gone off. But fundamentally, look. Within a very short amount of time, whatever we said, that occupies their life. That's what Glenn Roofy, the numpty from down under, nearly did it wrong there. Anyway, yeah, he's got up that day. First thing he's done is check Flat Earth Debate to see what he's got to address to keep his worldview together and how he needs to address it in a very specific way, because he can't actually deal with the issues. He's got to do it in a snide attack, which deflects from nobody spotting the main point of the argument that, in this case, it's the star field that's moving, and irrespective of how you want to attack it.
Right. They're experts in how do you distract away from this critical point. They're masters at it.
All right, Nathan, put that post back up. This is really important. This is going to give you the origins of the arguments that you're going to receive, other than there are no triangles in celestial navigation. Tell me when you get it back up.
Yep.
So a Jedi mind tricked them with this Q math elevation angle formula, right? You see all the formulas down below. So since that is the case, right, they're not paying attention to the elevation angle anymore. What they're trying to say now is you flat earthers now got to solve that right triangle, right? But in celestial navigation, they're not solving the right triangle. When you pick up a sextant, all you have is an elevation angle. You have no sides of that triangle. Now, once you get the elevation angle, you'll have three angles, right? Because it's a right angle triangle. Once you have one, you know the other one's 90 degrees. You know they all have to add up to 180. So you're going to have all the angles, right? But you'll have no sides. You can't do any trig with that. You mouth-breathing, knuckle-dragging window lickers, right? So what do you do next? What do they do in celestial navigation next? They try to find that distance to the GP along the X line, right? They don't use a trig function for that in celestial navigation, do they? What do they use to get the distance?
And minus it from 90, times it by 60.
Yeah. Is that a trig function?
No.
90 degrees minus the measured elevation angle times 60 degrees. Is that a trig function, knuckle dragging window lickers?
No. I've incorrectly identified it as trig a few times, though. I've got to admit my error where I've made one.
Yeah. See, what's happening is they're in a category error.
I think the description's applicable. Now, it may not have been interpreted as SOHCAHTOA. Yeah, you may, yeah, but you can still do this as trigonometric calculations. I don't think we're dealing with triangles, right? So I think it's perfectly plausible and reasonable that the field we're dealing with is trigonometry. We
You're
may
both
not
right.
be using
You're both right. It fits within the definition. You're absolutely correct, Adam. But I still actually side with QE, not because you're wrong. You are right. It is absolutely trig. It fits within the definition. But this method isn't trig. If you want to call it the method of acquiring the height of the star, which is what they want to strawman us with. So why bother? Okay. No, this isn't trig. This is celestial navigation. When you're taking your co-altitude, that's got sod all to do with getting the height of the star, and it doesn't mention getting the height of the star. It mentions getting the distance to the GP. That's the function. That line along the bottom, that's got to be flat. And that's really the only bit I want to focus on. Whereas if I get suckered into whether or not it's trig, they'll be talking about how we're going to be acquiring the height of the star, when the method isn't. It's celestial navigation. You had this line of reasoning about 5 days ago, Adam. You were like, no, the method's celestial navigation. That's what you're attacking. That's the method.
Yep.
But you are right, Adam. I don't want to make it sound like you're incorrect, because I remember getting it wrong and thinking, am I wrong? I'll just go and check. So I went and looked up a few definitions. I'm like, no, it does sit within the definition when someone's saying this isn't trig. But that's exactly what QE's saying, and I'm agreeing with him for on the basis that, no, when you say trig, it's a bit like saying the church.
I'm just saying with the elevation angle, they're
Right.
missing. See, they're trying to get past the elevation angle thing. My whole argument is right at the root, at the foundation of the argument. The first thing you do, right, is to obtain elevation angle. That's my whole argument.
That's it. And it's game over there. That's it. That's all you need. Don't need to argue about whether or not it's a bloody triangle. Who cares? Your elevation angle measurement proved it's flat. What are you going to do now, Fundy? Argue about whether or not triangles are used? Who cares? You just measured a flat Earth right there, my friend. No curve to that angle. Yeah, I want to drill that into QE. It's the beginning, middle, and end of the argument at the moment you measure the angle. Why do you think Proto-Thad himself squirmed like a little bitch when I asked him about it and told me not to get hung up on it? Yeah, very telling. Because that was the end of his argument, wasn't he? He started with that angle and we could argue all day about what he did with it and whether or not it formed a triangle. Or I could and did focus on the fact that that angle measurement proved Earth's flat. And he had nowhere to go except to tell me not to get hung up on that flat Earth he needed to make his argument in the first place. For all you numpties out there listening right after the fact, because this will come out on Wednesday, for those of you who aren't members, the numpties that are out there still claiming, are you going to take up 10 grand worth of MC Toon challenge? He, too, has followed this numpty idiot, Proto-Thad, into the same exact methodology that requires a flat Earth angle measurement. So you want to talk about 10 grand? Yeah, John covered this about a month ago and has since explicitly said, where's my 10 grand? Here you go, I'll show you again. I got the angle used in the exact same example and challenge from a flat Earth. The only way the challenge can be formed is if the angle came from a flat Earth. Where's my 10 grand? But they're still posting it because none of them really pay any attention. They're just headline readers.
Yep. I'm just telling you where it came from so you have a little background. So you know if they ask you, what's hard to store? Then you know where it came from.
But yeah, got to understand as an audience member, just measuring the angle, the first step is the end step. When we say they can't beg the question, they've got to measure a flat Earth first. That's just talking about acquisition of an elevation angle measurement in the very first instance. It's the first step for both us, them, anybody doing this method. Doesn't matter if you've got a globe belief. You're going to be measuring a flat Earth in the first instance the moment you pick up the sextant.
The question or the key statement should be, now that we'll boil it down for him, show an elevation angle with a curved baseline. Of course, I already said that in the beginning, months ago. But here it is. Show an elevation angle with a curved baseline.
Might change the housekeeping question to that.
Yep.
Instead of it, start with a statement. It's not a housekeeping question anymore, in other words. Make it a statement right at the beginning.
Yeah, I like that.
So, because we get this ham-handed, we've got a challenge that's got money attached and nobody's got the money. It's like, yeah, what? Because you're all con artists and cheats. Nobody's got the money. But you think that somehow proves your point. Okay? Well, we'll lay it out as a challenge instead of a question right at the beginning of the show. Show an elevation angle with a curved adjacent.
First of all, they wouldn't pay.
Don't say curved adjacent. Hold on a second. Don't say curved adjacent. Well, you can. It'll be fun. They'll just deny triangles exist.
Okay,
just say show an elevation angle with a curved baseline.
No, I agree.
About that?
No, I agree. That was the modification that I actually focused on my change for. So I'm sorry, I phrased it wrong immediately. Just force a habit. No, absolutely. Show an elevation angle with a curved baseline. Because as you say, it immediately eradicates their argument about triangles when you're talking about adjacents.
Yep.
Okay.
It'll be fun. I'd still do the adjacent and post triangles because that's what I do. But you can drill down and just say that and then it's over.
They don't pay anyway, even if you would take them up on any challenge and win. They won't pay.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Well, but that is something else that they're using as a bit of smoke and mirrors distraction. They want you to focus on that. Like Craig. That I assume maybe they're not that clever. But when I say Craig's only offered up his channel of being shut down so that last ditch attempt, if something goes wrong in the discussion about circles not being 2D or something stupid, when that goes badly wrong, it can, distract away to whether or not he's going to be closing his channel down. So it's just his little get out of jail free card should the argument go badly. Little smoke bomb in his back pocket that he's got just in case. That's all that is. Same with offering up money.
Little smoke bomb.
Yeah. Some other non-related subject that is directly related. It's the main subject, should it need to be. Like the 10 grand would be.
It's just another distraction to distract from the distraction.
Exactly. A convolution technique. Oh, well, look, there's money on the table. Why hasn't anybody claimed it? Why hasn't anybody shown that you can't measure an elevation angle backwards after acquiring it from a flat plane to get a different distance if you've got a height of a star that we're going to ascribe to you with a straw man? It's like we've covered this in so much detail, I can summarise it in about 25 seconds now. But there we go. That's what we deal with. People who rinse and repeat. Or headline readers that go to people like McToon's channel and don't realise that he would, if this was still a thing, he'd be here on a daily basis laughing at us. You know, at the start of this process, they all thought that's how it was going to continue. Oh, these flat earthers have really got nothing. They don't actually have any good arguments to overcome any of the false dichotomy straw men that we throw their way. They can't cope with them. They don't even know their fallacies. Now, none of them are actually processing that in their cognition, but that's what's happening. And as a result, every time that they burn a little straw man and they win, they laugh. Every time their false dichotomy shows the globe's better as a model that they've reified, they think they've won and they laugh. So they were here daily laughing at us because they genuinely thought they got winning arguments every time they offered the fallacy and we fell for it. Every time we begged the question of that curve calculator, oh, how keen they would be here laughing at us. Well, they were right to, because every time we begged the question of that proof of nothing calculator, they'd won before we opened our mouths. So they had a good reason to be here laughing at us. Now it's the other way around, isn't it? And MC Toon would be here on a daily basis telling us how stupid we are with an open door if he thought for 1 second that he actually had anything. Now, given that his guru Protothad's had his ass ripped through his throat and he's had to tell us how flat he's correcting to and how flat the elevation angle is and told us not to get hung up on how flat that elevation angle proving Earth is flat is, yeah, you're not going to be here on a daily basis laughing at us because it won't be the way that the visit goes for MC Toon. So what's he got? Headline reading minions that see him still with his challenge out there, having absolutely in no way acknowledged in any way, because he hasn't really even been here. He's pretended to be here right at the end of a live show and then buggered off. What, because he doesn't know there's an after show that continues afterwards? What, he must be here live? Oh yeah, because of course that's really relevant to whether or not you can smash our faces in with this excellent rebuttal that you've got to the elevation angle, needing a flat earth to measure. He hasn't. Like I say, he'd be rubbing our faces in it daily if he had.
You know, I never thought about it, but you're right. That's true. It would be just like the early days, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Think I could get away with calling MC2 a complete clown? Yeah, I've called him a monkey every single time we've referred to this. Protothad is the organ grinder. MC Toon's a bloody monkey. Putting money on the line for something he doesn't really understand. If he did, he'd appreciate, as we rub his face in it, that you need a flat earth to get your elevation angle. To make your challenge, you stupid clown. Now, if that was wrong, yeah, he'd be here, rubbing my face in how wrong I was, correcting me. And if I muted him, he'd be right to point out that he was here trying to prove me wrong, and I shut him down with my mute button. No, I would absolutely welcome him with open arms to go through how his flat earth angle measurement that somehow moves forward to disprove a flat earth works. If he wants to come and rub my face in that, he's welcome to. He isn't because he's got dick. He's got nothing. But his bravado will keep him going for a couple of weeks till everyone forgets that he was supposed to be here rubbing our faces in it and would be daily if he had something. He isn't. He isn't going to be. He never will be. He hasn't got anything. Earth is flat. His argument did require a flat Earth to make. We know it. He knows it.
It's a terrible habit to basically say, oh, just I'll give you this really huge sum of money if you prove something. Right? Well, who's actually going to pay that out? Like, is he like a really rich guy that just typically does that? I mean, there are some people out there on the internet that actually like make contests, and they do hand out money, right? So if a person like that makes a challenge, you would actually expect them to pay out. But none of these anti-flat earthers have ever paid out anything serious to flat earthers ever in all these years. So why would we expect them to ever do that?
You brought it up. There is a certain breach of the YouTube terms of service in terms of those cash prizes they offer. But there we go. I mean, that's not something I'm particularly interested in, but now I've noted it, I'm sure somebody will be scurrying away to look at the terms of service to see how they're breaching that particular... Well, I'm not going to hint at what particular section people should be looking for. But yeah, there is absolutely a breach of YouTube's guidelines in that regard.
But I wasn't talking about YouTube necessarily even, right? There's other platforms, there's media groups. They just do that. It's just like, okay, make videos and you will be part of a contest and the winner will get a cash prize. I think it is legal. They probably had lawyers to look through it and all that. But you'd expect those people to actually pay out because they have paid out. Well, does anybody know an anti-flat earther that ever paid out in any kind of contest or challenge to a flat earther?
No,
ever?
but that's like I say, that's the smoke bomb in the back pocket that they want you to focus on.
I know, but I just want all flat earthers to realize you shouldn't ever be expecting that they are going to pay out, because the unwritten conditions are that you actually convince them, right? Not that you prove it, but that you convince them, and they will never be convinced. So done. It's an unwinnable challenge every time.
It's not about being convinced. They just want to prove us wrong. So any of them paying out any flat earther would mean that they are wrong, and they can't have that.
No, it's pain relief.
That's why that's never happened.
Yeah, it's just pain relief. When someone asks them about it, what do you do? Oh, I challenge flat earthers to prove that there's flat, stupid idiots. Really? Yeah, I offered 10 grand to prove it, and no one claimed it. It's a bit of pain relief.
Yeah. I keep getting that in chat all the time. Like the past 5 shows, it gets brought up.
I think it's just a cheap bluff from a position of dominance. Like, oh, we're on the winning side. We can do this because we'll always win. But it's pure bluff.
We don't need cheap tricks like that. I don't need cheap tricks like that.
But they think they are.
So I don't
because
need
of consensus.
I don't need to offer up a cheap trick in order to demonstrate my point about space, for example, which is more effective. Me saying space is fake, it's a second law of thermodynamics violation. It is a natural law violation to assert that gas, which expands in all directions, is not expanding into an area of space it has available to it. That violates natural law. Very effective argument. I can draw a line under it without losing any sleep. Now, do I need to pepper that and roll that turd, which it isn't, in a bit of glitter and go, prove that space is real. I will offer you £10,000 to prove that there's a sky vacuum. Do I need to do the roll up circus act to demonstrate my point? I just demonstrate it by talking about it and illustrating that, no, gas which is moving at high velocity in all directions, all vectors, will continue to do so if unimpeded. And if there's an area of space for it to fill, it'll just fill it. I don't need to dress that up with the roll up 10 grand on offer. There's no need.
Wait, is that challenge whether space could be real or that it is real?
There is no challenge. I don't need to roll some turd in glitter to make my point.
Oh. I'm sorry, I just took it very literal. You just rolled out the challenge, so...
As a farcical example. No, I did not roll out a challenge. Oh, God. Love to be taken out of context immediately.
Sorry, I just think like it would be funny though, for Baldwin mostly, because he will really do his best.
Do you need the affirmation that somebody hasn't claimed 10 grand to prove that space is fake to know in your absolute unequivocal mind's eye that it isn't real and you cannot go there because if you did, we'd all be dead, gas would fill it? Do you need 10 grand still on the table, not claimed, to go to sleep knowing that space is fake? I don't need to say, Oh, and I offered 10 grand for someone to prove that you could go to space. No, you
No,
can't.
but I do like I really like the incentive idea to prove that it is real.
They
Because I
spend
really believe I can.
55 million a day trying to convince people it's real.
Right, and I'll do it for 10 grand.
Can you tell the baltards what their challenge is if they go around saying, no one's claimed the $10,000, therefore we're right? That's an argument from silence fallacy. Just to let them know.
Yeah,
Thanks.
that's the pain relief. The argument from silence fallacy is the pain relief that they acquire.
I'm just offering my services for 10,000 euros to actually prove that space is real. But I'm not going to do it for free.
Well, make it even easier than that. When they make a positive claim that they can't prove, just tell them to take you to court. When they never do, that's the end of it.
Again, so the smoke bomb becomes the court case about whether or not someone's paid out on a bet or something.
That damn smoke bomb?
Hell yeah. Those are the best court cases.
That's literally already happened. Curvature already lost in court.
That's correct.
Tell us more, because this is recent, Chocolate.
Did they define it in court? I want to see the transcript.
I'm not sure about that. I just know somebody had a challenge against, what's his name? Garcia, I think it's Zen Garcia.
Correct.
Something like that. And he was supposed to, basically, they went to court, and the guy could not prove that the Earth is curved. So that's already happened.
Then offered money for proof of Earth curvature. Someone said that they could prove it. It went to court. He couldn't.
Yeah, but how sad is that? With all the science they said they had? Oh, dear.
Well, I thought that would get more padding than it did, but thank you, Chocolate.
It didn't lose just once, though. It lost 2 times.
Oh, did he go back for appeal?
The same guy, right, that sued for the prize money, I think he tried a second time, and then another individual went after it.
Really? I didn't know that.
I just posted it on main chat.
Cool.
It's quite hilarious because I bring that up and I go, the Flat Earth won in court. So go ahead and make your case in court, right? File your suit. Let's go.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Surely saying, let's make a statement. Astronauts that have claimed to have been to a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum known as outer space are all liars. Why is it I'm saying that without any concern whatsoever that I'm going to get sued by an astronaut? The lying sacks of shit that they are, deceiving the entire Western world, that we've got this area claimed to be a space for the gas we breathe to fill, that they can travel to, that the gas doesn't, violating natural law. Yeah, they're definitely liars. Now, if they had a leg to stand on in terms of actually proving me wrong, yeah, you'd be pretty sure they'd be on my case, like flies on shit. They're frauds. They're not going to come near me to try and shut me down in terms of my outrageous assertion when they've got a natural law violation on their hands claiming to have been to it. No, I don't think so. I'd be supremely confident, stood in front of the dock saying, no, here's a natural law violation they're claiming to travel to. It's akin to Narnia. You can't have gas pressure without a container. To have containerless gas violates laws of nature. They wouldn't be laws anymore if what they're saying is true. And then I'd throw up a few NASA citations about gas pressure, how they describe it themselves as having containment in order to achieve the pressure that we're breathing.
Funny that, isn't it? I mean, why would NASA do such a thing? If they know, I mean, they're the ones that would know that you don't need a container for gas pressure, right? They're the ones that travel to the place that you could have gas without a container.
It's in their citations. Without the walls, there could be no pressure, right?
Right. Meanwhile, they're showing pictures of an Earth as a sphere with high pressure clouds not dispersing into the area that they're claiming they're taking the picture from. That would be a vacuum. There's just clouds hanging around next to space.
Well, the other hand is there are people that are thinking of taking NASA to court and going after them.
Wow. I mean, I don't think that's a worthy thing to go after. You know, once you've got liars in your midst, once you know they're liars, why would you want to chase after them?
To get some money that they took from us back, right, Eli?
It's for the dirty, dirty money.
Well, yeah, it's about the money, but it's more about the perception. It'd be a perception change.
And the exposure?
It's more about kids think these morons are heroes.
Yep.
That's the problem I have with it. Guys in their khakis floating around in a place that doesn't exist, they're heroes? Lying to kids? Shit.
They're just doing a duty to their nation.
Duty to lie?
What a shit duty.
Yeah, it is.
How you wake up every day and you know you're lying to people every day?
Well,
kids,
you need
you're having fake interviews.
I can
fake
tell you
interviews
how.
with kids.
I can tell you how. You need a lot of distractions, right? Because it is kind of miserable. But then again, the money is pretty big. And so, yeah, it's just, it relays your personal focus on just another spectrum of how to deal with things. It is kind of miserable, but yeah, the money is kind of compensating.
So I can imagine how that interview would go, right? So we fast forward 50 years and everyone knows it's all a hoax and NASA have been lying to you the whole time. Space is fake. And they take this astronaut, ex-astronaut to one side and they go, so how could you live with yourself lying about this place? You know, you obviously strapped yourself into the high wire trapeze and went on camera with the green screen behind you. And the guy's got his head in his hands and he's like, yeah, I don't know how I lived myself. It was really hard to do it. Did you see my Bugatti, by the way? It's absolutely rapid.
I knew you were going to say that. Did you see my Lamborghini outside?
Did anybody see the movie Terms of Endearment? Well, in that movie, Jack Nicholson is the neighbor, and he's an astronaut. And how is he portrayed? Coming home drunk in a nice car in a beautiful house with the pool, with young girls. An astronaut.
But you want some of that dirty, dirty money, don't you? So you're going to chase them down in court for it. You want that.
I want some of that dirty money.
Yeah, you know it.
That's the problem. Then they win, right? Because the astronauts, in reality, when you get a lot of money to lie, you're not really able to enjoy it as much as you would like to, right? So
unless you don't have a soul.
Hold on. Right now, we would like that money because we're innocent, right? We could really use that. We would enjoy it, right? They can't really enjoy it. So the only really gratification they can effectively get out of it in the end is that other people are jealous of what they have. If they don't sense that, then they can't enjoy it because to them it doesn't really mean anything anymore.
That somber note, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, hitting the PayPal link, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!